A man, Lord, Machiavelli production. Notorious M.A.D. Lil Chad and Slender Dad vibing straight bustin' no cap. Friday night screen lit fame hitting our lap. Culture thick, no yeet from the trap. YouTube grind, minds locked in so we adapt. Brahma bull cackling loud, bourbon on the rocks. Scheming like the GOAT, comedy unlocks. Mad shit smoke, cold as ice, won't fold. YouTube legend verdicts drip sharp like a judge's code. Skirt, skirt that, skirt tat that. Ascending crew, let's get it. Stack them racks, laughs hit diffy. Dumb fates can't match these facts. Popcorn, popping chill vibes, brew sipping slow. Prime time screens live, we slap, we glow. Now that we're pulling up clean, double the cup of the lean. Shit supreme from the H to the Bay. Third ward holding it down. Crew lights the fuse, blazing wild, no snooze. Voices boom loud, screens pop and set the cruise. Grind levels up, shine hits, claim that juice. Rise quick, savage, laughter high, can't lose. Put a skirt that. Skirt tat that. We here to break the mold, eat the basic behind. With tales that slap and laughter intertwined. A quest to marvel where drip defies. In this lit realm, only passion flies. Skirt, skirt that. Skirt tat that. A sinning squad goes hard, blazing trails we pursue. Laughs hit like heat, dumb vibes getting cooked anew. Popcorn lit, locking tight, roll swift, no lack. Prime stream zooms, global tap, we stack. Skirt, skirt that, skirt tat that. OM's here, yo.
No, Imp is not here.
Because we have not had a lot of Imp lately.
No, the man
How
is.
was that?
That was Mad's intro.
That's
video
what happens when Mad
us.
gets a hold
Mad
of AI.
wrote it. That
Yeah. That's why it's got the scurbs
everything.
for when Mad finds a sound effect he loves.
Say no
it's
more.
It's in his music.
Yeah, we have about 20 of those that he's made.
Yeah, so that's just the newest. All right, so real quick, let's say hey to Bad Take Bojan in the chat. She was first. Outclassing Josh Hammond. Usually he's up in there first. We got Smokey, our favorite Kiwi, in the chat. Eric Myers in there, who noticed that Bojan beat Josh for first in there. And Soul Assassin joining us recently. And welcome to the panel. We've got my co-host Slender. Got Brahma, who we knew was going to be here because we got the notification that he was playing a game, so we figured he'd be on the panel.
I was watching Clarkson's Farm.
Oh,
because the new season came out.
Oh, the new season came out? Shit, why aren't we reviewing that?
Because the just dropped today, and I didn't know we'd have time to plow through 4 episodes of that.
I will make time. I'd have been like, oh, I'm sick. I can't work today. Sorry.
That I also didn't include Fountain of Youth, which is an Apple TV movie that dropped, the Guy Ritchie one with Joseph Krasinski, and
man, it sounds
Murder
like
Box.
Next week's episode's pretty much writing itself.
Yeah, it's gonna be there. It's gonna be there. And thanks for Tom for being here. He thought he'd be a little late, but he was more on time than our regulars.
We told him which time zone we actually stream in, so
that does
helped.
help.
Yeah. So
I'm
real
used
quick,
to having to put the time zone on it because Mad can never rectify Central with Eastern time. So
that 1 hour difference.
yeah, I have to do the conversions for him.
There's a lot of things he can't rectify. I'm just saying.
like thermal regulation of his skin.
So as a real quick follow up to something I showed last week on the show, which I believe was the man who was putting taking the fruit right out of the bag, handing it to his wife. It was fruit she had just put in their shopping bag. Yeah. And she immediately said that it was not satisfactory and put it to the side, even though it was one she had selected, only based on it being from him. I saw this video and I thought it was a great companion piece. Muted so that I don't get struck for music. Look at how happy this guy is. He handed her an avocado. she said it was good.
I win.
Wait, look. Hey, that one.
She shrugs. I guess.
We're such simple creatures, man. We're like he got 2. He was overjoyed. So I saw that and I was like, oh, there's the other end of the pendulum. Look, because it took nothing from her to give him those little wins. 2 little
Men
wins
don't
and
get
it made his day.
compliments.
Yep. 2 little wins made his day. And as one more follow up to last week, which is Tony Todd from the Final Destination movie. I found out that they let him ad lib his last line completely on his own.
Well, that whole speech.
Yeah. And
they said make it a message to all the fans of the franchise.
Yeah, and so this is what he said. The last lines he said, in any film ever for him, I intend to enjoy the time I have left, and I suggest you do the same. Life is precious. Enjoy every single second. You never know when. And then good luck. Which I thought that was, I mean, obviously he was sick, knew he was dying. And Tony Todd is an underrated actor who's been a significant part of science fiction and genre entertainment since the 90s, going even back to the 80s. Got Candyman. He did a lot of stuff on Star Trek that people forget. So it's nice that the directors and writers and people on that Final Destination movie super respectful of the franchise they were stepping into. Yep, he was. So,
oh, you know who else we lost this week?
Who's that?
Norm.
That's right.
Yeah, George went.
It's I mean, we're in that phase now where all those guys from the 80s and 90s, Brahma, you're muted.
Where all of our movie stars are going to start dying.
Yeah, it's a pain in the ass.
I already lived through it with grunge.
I was gonna say we've already kind of been getting there too. Besides that, but yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, but
I think
she can only marry so many people, Brahma.
Now we're starting to lose the healthy ones that didn't do a whole bunch of drugs.
Or marry
that's
Courtney
kind of
Love.
what I was getting at.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Courtney Love can only inherit the rights to songs from so many husbands.
I think Billy Corgan was the only one who was like impervious to her bullshit.
Probably.
She must have been really good at what she did, because statement of opinion, not a statement of fact, opinion. She 100% offed him to keep the rights so he didn't divorce her.
I mean, aren't most women like inherently capable of driving a man who cares about them insane? I mean, the good ones don't, but they all have that ability.
I thought he was going to go somewhere else. I thought he was going to go like, aren't all women kind of capable of murder?
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. The loophole is I'm not going to do it to you. I'm going to make you do it to yourself.
Because Tom, what happens?
You're going to feel like that's the best option. That's how crazy I'll make you.
Once the man shows signs that he's going to leave and not let you just ground him down into nothingness, that's when she'll resort to murder.
Yeah.
Especially if you have a large catalog of music that you've written that she can inherit and have the.
I can't wait till we hear
I'm
what.
going to talk to the lawyer about my will. No, you're not.
I mean, that bitch was keeping that Nirvana box set for coming out for years. For years.
I can't wait to hear what Kash Patel and Dan Bongino think on that file.
You know they disappoint me so much. They're the worst. They're the biggest disappointments. Anyway, that's for the bullpen. That's not for this show.
This is not for this show, because
No,
I have
this show
on that I disagree with you guys greatly, but we'll talk about that some other time.
This week I think we can open up with our Memorial Day weekend movie chat. All right, so we got 2 movies coming out that are worth talking about: Lilo and Stitch, the live action, and Top Gun. Not Top Gun Maverick. I was reading the headline: Mission Impossible: Final Reckoning. I've seen them both. I went to consecutive days to do the work, to put the homework in. I was disappointed with one and completely happy with another. And it's not going to be what you expect because
Okay,
Lilo
well, what
and
I expected, I was about to issue the old disclaimer that Lil Chad has a bias when it comes to Mission Impossible. So,
Yeah, I've enjoyed all of them. I think 2 was the weakest link, and coming out of the theater, 2 still is the weakest link. Lilo and Stitch was a shit adaptation. Like the changes they made in Lilo and Stitch really screwed that movie up. I love Lilo and Stitch.
I
the
kind of
animated
disagree,
movie.
and I've seen a lot of people oversimplifying the ending of this film without giving any of the context that's involved with it.
It's not even the ending. For me, I get that because I understand that when they make the changes to Nani. All right, so light spoiler talk. They do change the ending from the animated film to this live action one. I think me and Tom can hopefully talk around the specifics because I don't want to just get into spoilers with people who might be very interested in seeing it, because this is going to be the biggest movie of the weekend. I do think that the movie was Stitch is cute and adorable and has several funny moments on screen that will make kids laugh very much. And therefore, this movie is probably going to clock in the 750 plus range. I'm not sure if I'd give it into the billion, just because there's a lot of competition coming out because of where it's placed in the schedule. Elio even comes out in like 2-3 weeks. So I would say this movie is comfortably going to make in like the 750 to 8 range and could creep towards a billion if, depending on international. Because Stitch sells international, which is nice. But on the other hand, the original movie didn't make huge box office. It's become beloved, but it didn't really crush it when it came out in the early 2000s. But all right, so Tom, you've seen this one. I agree with you that they laid a lot of predicate and context within the film to justify the ending they went with. And so that part I'm not as upset about. Like I've seen a lot of the other people complaining online about the ending as their biggest problem. For me, the thing that I was most bothered with is they pretty much completely dropped the Elvis Stitch plot.
Not really.
And that was one of my favorite. She used like Elvis as to model him and his good behaviors. And I don't know if the music rights were just too expensive because they used the music in the movie. Maybe it's the likeness rights.
No, I think no, because he's at the end. He's dressed as Elvis.
Yeah, maybe they're just trying. Maybe I think it's 2025, and so there's less people who will be as culturally literate for kids on who Elvis is. So, but I don't know. I thought that was they dropped a lot of Stitch elements from that were in the animated movie that I really liked.
It feels like they filmed just about everything that was in the original, but then some of it got cut around. There is some elements that they changed that would obviously change how things would go. If anything, I felt like they embellished more things and added more things, and that's the thing where I think people are having the biggest issue with Nani is that they had to give her a character. Right, I get people are getting so knee-jerky, and the problem is they get real knee-jerky when I explain the true fact of, you go back to the original movie, and don't get me wrong, I love the original film. It's a 10 out of 10 for me, and this movie is not as good as the original. That being said, in the original film, Nani doesn't really have a character. All she is there, and she loses her jobs, and she screams and hollers a lot, and she wants to fuck David, and she can surf. That's her character. We don't really get to know her. In this movie, we actually get to know her. And not only that, we get to see that, to me, it's like a much more psychological kind of retelling of what the original film is, because the original film just kind of pushes to the side that these two girls lost their parents, right? And they also don't get too much into like the idea that they had to change their dynamic so quickly, which that's what I thought this film did better, at least. I'm not saying the film is better. I'm just saying it did better in giving Nani an actual character So we know who she is, what she's had to sacrifice now because of this tragedy happening. And the tragedy actually feels like it's not only recent, but it's actually still a problem. Like in the original film, it doesn't still feel like it's as much of a problem. And even though Nani's supposed to be close to the same age, she feels much older in the animated version than she does here. Like here, she feels like a real, 17, 18, 19-year-old like she's supposed to be.
Well, I think that was a function of they cast Tia Carrera to do the voice of Nani in the original, and she's much older. I mean, at the time, even Tia Carrera would have been in her late 30s, 40s when she was doing that voice work.
Likely.
So, yeah, so her voice just doesn't have. It ends up when she was doing the voiceover work for the original Lilo and Stitch, it just sounded older. There's a inflection, even, and not just a teenager, but even like into the young 20s, men and women still have a tone in their voice that sounds young. And the actress here, because she is younger, like you said, she comes off as younger. I'm going to give a lot of credit to the little girl who plays Lilo. Usually, I mean, she had to carry a lot of, especially since it was CGI, she's reacting to nothing.
She's the best part of the movie.
Yeah.
I'll say that hands down, because she does some of the best performing with a character who's clearly not there in reality since Bob Hoskins did in Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Yeah, her reaction work is
you believe that
perfect.
She's in that same space with Stitch.
Yeah, and so that's what I give her actually credit for carrying it. Stitch was perfectly fine when he was on screen. I think they cut, and like you said, maybe they filmed a lot of the original stuff and maybe it got cut out. But it seemed like they added stuff for Galifianakis because they cast him and he was one of the bigger names in the movie.
And he was one of the worst parts of the movie as far as I was concerned. Phoning it in, yeah.
Yeah, that's
this is
what
the
I'm
one time
saying.
I was joking. I'm going like, what, was Josh Gad too busy or something? Like even Jack Black would have been better than this.
Yeah. So Galifianakis completely just is cashing a paycheck and show like I'll show up on time, I'll hit my mark, and then I'll leave. He's not doing anything to enhance the material, right?
I haven't seen the movie, but I got a hot take.
What's
he
that?
was never that funny.
Yeah, I mean, he had a moment
shtick basically,
where the Hangover role was perfect for him.
I don't even think that was his best movie. I think what was the one that he did?
The Election?
No, Robert Downey Jr.
That was like when his wife was pregnant in that movie, and they were going.
I thought he was pretty funny in that.
I think Election was the one I liked him when he was against Will Ferrell. That one came out pretty good. But he
was a good man child, but that's the same thing that all the other people that Tom named do.
Yeah, and this is a case where the original movie was much higher in terms of they got. I don't know who did it, but they had when they were the character Galifianakis is playing is the mad scientist who created Stitch. In the original animated film, it was a heavily Eastern European accented like voiceover work, and it really suited like the evil mad scientist shtick. Galifianakis's voice doesn't. And
now, when you say Eastern European,
like Russian.
Okay.
I mean, what like Russian?
Well,
Romanian,
as David Ogden steers,
Ukrainian,
kind of a mix because he's obviously an alien, so it's not quite Russian, but it's somewhere in there. Like,
yeah. And they also got one of the kids in the hall who was it Kevin? What's his name? The voice of the one-eyed alien was one of the kids in the hall, Kevin McDonald, I think. And he was a really good, like, real hyper nerdy kind of scientist one. In this one, they get Magnuson, and he was terrible. Like those two, Tom. I think maybe you probably. It seems like you agree. Those were the worst parts. Every time it cut to them, the movie just like it was that record jolt sound.
Yeah, they had like one gag that worked through the whole film. And here's one thing I learned after I saw the film, and that was that that this was originally meant to be a Disney Plus movie. So
I can see
didn't
it
know
now.
that. And now it
I
makes a
can-
lot more sense. Yeah, there's a lot of things that make more sense. Yeah, but the Pleakley and Jumba characters are probably the least in the film. The changes overall, I didn't mind the changes as much as everybody else does. It made more sense to me. But I know everybody else who's like the big fans of the original series are freaking out over it. So
Like I was telling you last night, my daughter,
Yeah.
her and her friends are not happy that they changed anything because
Yeah,
they watched
the-
that movie over and over and over.
I remember when I was at AMC when Lilo and Stitch, the animated movie, came out. And that was one where I thought Disney marketing did a great job. Like if you remember the posters that came out, they had Stitch, like they were animating Stitch into like Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast, where like all the previews were him like destroying classic Disney scenes. Like, and it was actually inventive and clever marketing, and the movie just didn't like connect in theaters that well. And over time, though, it became a home video classic where Disney Channel, home video, cable, people watched this movie and realized how good it actually was. Like the first one is like a 10 out of 10, like Tom said.
Well,
And
the series coming out didn't hurt it either.
so the best live actions, the I shouldn't say the best, but the most successful Disney live action movies have been the ones where it's basically a shot for shot remake and they add a couple scenes to flesh a few things out, like Beauty and the Beast, where it was effectively a shot for shot remake and they just added a couple flashback scenes to Belle's childhood and
Or
his
adding
and
a Christopher Walken song and Jungle Book.
yeah, that and Jungle Book shot for shot, but they added a couple things, and those come off, and those are what make it like Aladdin. All they did everything shot for shot, and they just gave Princess Jasmine like a female anthem to sing, and those all make
Ooh.
$1 billion.
Somebody just got a skate to the face in the hockey game.
Oh well, that's not good.
Doesn't that kill people?
It
If it
has
hits
the
their neck.
potential to.
Usually if it gets around that neck area, it can kill them. But
Looks
yeah,
like he's fine.
So that's where I think because it becomes a beloved classic, people don't like when you start dicking around with it, and that's where, even though Tom is right that they lay a lot of groundwork with Nani's character to make the ending actually perfectly organic, it's gonna not sit well with people because they wanted a shot for shot live action version of what the animated one. They also are not going to be happy that Gantu, the really large whale,
Yeah, he's
dude,
not present at all.
Yes,
is not
that's
at all.
That's the thing that they're most upset with. My daughter. And
Which,
honestly,
like, now that Tom tells me it was a Disney Plus one, that 100% makes sense because the CGI to put in like a 20-foot tall, like a walking whale is probably Disney was probably like, no, that's not in the Disney Plus budget range.
well, not just that. They kind of, I think it would have just compiled more onto the story and running time. And then you already kind of basically can do the same thing through Jumba and Pleakley. So why? Because they kind of do it in the way they do it with how it works out. Like, I'm not going to spoil it, but like the way, what Jumba decides to do when Pleakley is given a specific order, basically, is kind of where the turning point in the last act of the film changes. And to me, it just kind of still fulfills the same thing as we see in the movie. It kind of does the same thing that he does anyway. Yantu or Gantu or whatever the fuck his name was, the whale shark dude.
So my reason that I'm a little not like originally when the first trailer dropped and it looked like just a live action Lilo and Stitch clone, I was like, this is $1 billion, print, like, book it. Having seen the movie, there's going to be a lot of people annoyed. I think it's going to have a fairly decent sized drop from week 1 to week 2.
It's already going through TikTok.
Yeah, like the teens aren't happy. So I think it'll do well opening week. I'm going to see this one, to me, it's going to be like a Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness situation where it clocks a really good number. It over indexes and does well opening weekend more than they thought it would. And then the word of mouth among those younger people just immediately kind of lights its long-term prospects on fire.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a pretty specific age group that this was their movie, that kind of thing. So I don't know.
Yeah, I missed it.
You're still going to get littler kids, and you're still going to get people who were the parents of kids that watched this movie, I think, still doing stuff or taking their grandkids now.
I mean, that's where I think it'll still make. That's why I said 750 to 8 worldwide is my comfortable, which is probably a really good, like Vic Fontaine says in the chat, it had $100 million budget. It will make, this will be a profitable movie for Disney. This is
profitable by next week.
Yeah. So the now what is not going to be profitable is the other movie that opened this week. And that's Mission Impossible Final Reckoning, which I really enjoyed. As Slender said, I have a blind
who'd
spot.
have thought?
I have a blind spot for the Mission Impossible movies. I don't mind longer versions of movies that I like. But this movie is 100%
I have not seen a single one of those movies.
Yeah. Well, if you go to see this one, you're going to see the highlight reel of pretty much all 8 because they actually intercut flashbacks to the sequences.
So I should just skip the other 7 and go straight to 8?
Hell no. The movies are good.
No, because
you can skip 2.
You won't make it through the movie.
Skip 2. No. All right. Here's what I'll tell you. You hating sons of bitches. I went to this movie with my 10-year-old son and my wife who just usually goes for nap time when we go to see an action movie.
It'd be easy for her to take a nap during this.
She stayed awake the entire time, was riveted, and enjoyed it immensely. Because even as long as it was interesting to her the whole time, and she's not even into action movies. My 10-year-old was enjoying the entire movie. So I think for people who like the franchise, it's going to generally be well received. The problem is this franchise it's a lot like Star Trek was in the 80s, and I know Tom knows this part. If you control your budget, Mission Impossible has a range that it's very comfortable making worldwide, and you can make profit that way. This movie got so out of control on its budget. It's a $400 million budget that it is guaranteed to never, through initial theatrical release, make its money.
And it doesn't look like it's going to do much better than the last one either at the end of the day. First of all, it only did $1 million more. And that's the other problem is you have people saying it's not as good. It's longer.
I liked it better than the Dead Reckoning because the action sequences were even better. It was good.
I think a lot of people overpraise Dead Reckoning. That's part of the problem.
I liked Dead Reckoning.
I liked Dead Reckoning. I don't think it was a great Mission Impossible movie, but this one I hated.
I mean,
I've got it at a 4.5 out of 10.
Yeah, Eric, this movie ran into COVID and strike delays. It's the perfect storm of inflating its budget because it was shooting internationally and it was initially getting into shutdowns because of COVID issues. And then it had the actor strike that delayed it. And so when they had to restart it, and this is the downside of Tom Cruise and his commitment to in-person practical effects work and stunt work, looks great on screen. I really wish more directors and crews were committed to practical effects because the difference is night and day. The problem is when you have to do stuff in person on screen, you can't have visual effects crews working while you're striking. You can't do a lot of other stuff. You're dead in the water until you can get people back on set to put them in the harness and put them on a biplane or put them in the rotating set in the submarine, whatever the stuff you got to do is. So yeah, so Dead Reckoning was 290 because that one was also inflated because of COVID. I think initially they were greenlit around the 150 range, which is still a little high. I think Mission Impossibles would need the fiscal discipline of the Star Trek when Paramount was doing it in the 80s and early 90s, where you got to keep that budget around, like you know what the number is going to be. So the worldwide number for a Mission Impossible movie is going to be right. You can clock it at around 500 to 600 is the guaranteed probably return.
Yeah, this is look. I mean, they're trying to paint it as a bit of a win for this opening weekend, but unless this thing legs out like Top Gun, which I just don't see happening, this thing is screwed. It's toast, and Lilo and Stitch is going to come out smelling like roses no matter what, even if it falls off a cliff in the next 2 weeks.
Because the budget was reasonable.
The budget was so small, and I found out, like I said, that it was initially made for Disney Plus, so they kept the budget around $100 million, is what I heard. So this movie's going to make all its money back in the first weekend. And Christ, with all the popcorn buckets and merchandise they got, I mean, this thing alone here costs $50. It's a flocked full-size popcorn and cup holder. I mean,
$50.
Stitch has always been a merchandising machine for Disney. Like that's the other thing. Stitch.
Yeah, step
even
aside, Grogu. Your numbers are rookie numbers.
No, yeah, Grogu was a shot in the pant. Like Grogu, they didn't have merch when he was most popular, so it got delayed. Then they flooded the zone with Grogu merch. Stitch has been selling merch since 2001 consistently. Like, so I don't even think it's even in debate. Now the thing is, here we go. I'm gonna present the reason Mission Impossible might have a shot is just the release calendar. So we've got, all right, so here we are right here. We've got this week, The Last Rodeo, which is Angel Studios' next vehicle that's not going to make that much money this time. Lilo and Stitch, Mission Impossible, and Friendship went to wide release, but that's really just a niche genre movie. Next week, we get Karate Kid Legends. Totally different crowd. Totally different crowd than Mission Impossible.
That has been getting complete
And nobody's gonna
really
care.
mixed reviews from all sort. I mean, I've heard both. It's great. It's awesome. To Ralph Macchio just did this for a paycheck and crap like that. So, like, yeah, I don't know at this point with that one.
Yeah. So this question, do you think the MI studio will overlook budgeting because of COVID strike stuff? It was Paramount. The reason Paramount went with the budget it was is because Sherry Redstone was trying to sell to Skydance, and guess who produces Mission Impossible? Skydance. So they weren't going to rock the boat with Skydance when they're in the middle of trying to convince Skydance to spend billions of dollars on Paramount.
I think it was also the goodwill that Tom Cruise has garnered in Hollywood for basically saving Hollywood.
Well, Paramount doesn't have a lot of franchises that are worth. I mean, Ninja Turtles is its biggest like printing press of money, and that's because they own Nickelodeon. Which I mean, merchandising.
Actually,
It brings in
SpongeBob probably does well. Yeah, you're probably right. Merch wise, yes.
yeah.
God, I don't know anymore. That's a tough one.
I mean, globally across collector and stuff for kids, Ninja Turtle merch still moves.
The problem is they have the Nickelodeon stuff. So if anything's popular in Nickelodeon, that's usually the trump.
Yeah, Eric,
and I'm not used to Ninja Turtles being the top anymore. Like when somebody says that, I'm like, are you sure?
Yeah. Star Trek.
They got
is
a
dead.
really big head start. So
I mean, this is another thing. We're having Tom on here to confirm it. Star Trek does not move merch.
Not
Star
anymore,
Trek
no.
does not. It does not generate subscriptions to Paramount Plus. Tyler Sheridan is who gets people to subscribe to Paramount Plus, and now Mobland. Maybe.
Well, and they're going after the wrong audience with Ninja Turtles. If you want to talk about Ninja Turtles for a second, because here's the thing, and this I do know about their merchandising. Because they did do over $1 billion in sales last year or whatever it was, the year that Mutant Mayhem came out. But they tried playing it like Mutant Mayhem was the reason for that. No, all those sales were prior to Mutant Mayhem coming out.
No, and as a father of a 10-year-old who's in the toy aisle with them, most of the Ninja Turtle stuff that moves, they've been re-releasing from the Playmates has these molds
Yep.
all the way back to the 90s. And so they're the reason
me about
that they are re-releasing basically the same toys we had in the 90s, and it's because they don't have to make new molds and they can
In
keep
every
the cost
variation they can at this point, because I even got the 2000 ones too that they redid.
and Playmates keeps the cost relatively low compared to other toy brands. Hasbro, I'm looking at you assholes.
Don't call Hasbro a toy
Well, and
brand.
that's the thing,
Hasbro
the
hasn't been a
problem-
toy brand for over a decade now.
Well,
they still
apparently-
slap their
Cheap
name on the
rip-off
box.
fucking video or
If they could
card
get their-
game and board game company.
If they get their head out of their ass with Ninja Turtles, here's the problem. First of all, Mutant Mayhem only exists so they could fulfill a contract with Playmates, right? Because they wanted new turtle toys. Because the TMNT Tales or whatever the hell that one was with the revamped animated one, the comedy one that they dumped the old series for that everybody liked, that one wasn't selling any toys, so they owed Playmates more toys. So they made this movie, and now the sequel got delayed. Now the series has been running, but I don't think the toys have been selling for this new show. Because every time I go to Walmart, they're still sitting on the shelf. Now my Walmart won't carry the vintage toys anymore, but I do know they're out there. Like I've got most of them anyway, but like
Are you talking the NECA ones or the Playmates vintage ones?
the Playmates vintage ones.
Yeah.
Even that's what I'm saying. They used to until Mutant
Yeah,
Mayhem came out.
Walmart is completely because they're pulling GI Joe. Anything that's the older stuff, they're only selling online.
Yeah, I don't
You're
understand
not
it either.
putting it
but
in their
like,
shelf
yeah.
space.
Dude,
But,
you want to sell me some Ninja Turtles figures? You bring back April O'Neil with the abundance of cleavage.
No,
I'll
they
buy
have
that thing
those
tomorrow.
toys. No, those toys
Well-
are. Yeah, they have the April and the yellow jumpsuit.
The problem though is
with
they don't
the
license
seat
the
muscles.
shows for shit, right? And they don't have good versions. Like they haven't remastered the original 87 series. They haven't remastered the 2000 series. The movies are over at Warner Brothers for the most part, so they got no control over those. So, like, what are you doing with the Ninja Turtles other than Mutant Mayhem? Nothing. Fuck all. There's been this like Last Ronin movie they've been talking about for a while, but I don't even think that's gotten off the ground yet in any way, shape, or form. And they haven't done anything for the adults because, like, your point is, yes, there are some kids that still like Ninja Turtles, but most of the ones that are into it, most people that are into it are our age, right? So why aren't they doing something that's more a little adult oriented? Is beyond me. Hill, if anything, why aren't they just revamping the original 87 series?
I think Tom, there's still. You remember was it around 2007 when they did TMNT? They got burned on that one where they thought the adults would come out for it, and people didn't.
Actually, that one did okay. It opened #1 at the box office, but it didn't.
It came out like in February. There was
March.
a
lot of issues with that movie. As good as it is, there's a lot of issues with it too. Right?
Oh,
'Cause
I
you have
love
a lot
that
of
movie.
fans that'll say that it has some of the best things in it, but it also was too kiddie. It was trying to do too many things at once. It was trying to be a sequel to the old movies and a sequel to any Ninja Turtles that you were a fan of, while also trying to bring in a kid crowd. And then Mutant Mayhem, and that's what I bitched about Mutant Mayhem. I'm like, this is the same shit they did in the 2007 movie. The only difference is instead of monsters, it's mutants. It's the same fucking plot. Like, and it's just obnoxious. And that's the other problem. They've made the Ninja Turtles completely obnoxious. And all these people are going like, oh, I love that they're teenagers now. It's like they always were teenagers. Like, what the hell are you talking about? Just because you have a 13-year-old voicing it doesn't help the situation. It's like,
all right. So just looking.
So anyway,
at
sorry, I had to go off on a tangent there for Ninja Turtles.
So I
if they
think
just
next
do
week,
something with the franchise, it'd be nice.
Yeah,
that was my point.
I think next week, Mission Impossible has wide runway without competition. So does Lilo and Stitch. I think they probably do 1 and 2 again.
If anything, Karate Kid hurts Mission Impossible more than it does Lilo and Stitch.
I think that's going to end up bombing. Like
I do. I agree with you, but I mean,
I
if it
feel like
hurts anybody,
they're going to do Karate Kid is low 20s to teens is where it's going to.
If you have a choice between Karate Kid and Mission Impossible, most people are going to pick Mission Impossible.
I'm picking Karate Kid actually.
I'm gonna push back,
knowing
on
that
this a
it's
little.
not part of the actual Karate Kid stuff.
I don't care. It's still 2 hours long, and
no Sensei Johnny Lawrence, no me. That's what
I'll deal with
happens.
that part over the 3 hour long. I'll wait till video for Mission Impossible. I ain't sitting in the theater that goddamn long unless it has Lord of the Rings in the title.
Oh, it
Dude,
feels
Cobra
every
Kai
minute of it.
brought a whole new audience in for the
So,
Karate Kid.
but none of
though.
the kids,
It might-
none of the kids, and
It has
Johnny
no
Lawrence
I
aren't
think
attachment
in
that's
to
there.
gonna
that except
hurt.
for Ralph Macchio.
I think you guys are right on that respect. That it's gonna hurt the movie. That it doesn't feel like a Cobra Kai sequel, and they're not attaching it to Cobra Kai in any way. And the only person who's returning is Ralph Macchio. It seems to be. That
And that
being
the Karate
said,
Kid is doing kung fu.
yeah, that
Well,
too.
he's got to learn karate. So
Yeah, well, that too. I'm gonna go see it, but I don't expect it to be good.
So Amelia Clark Scrollarm is saying that I watched Karate Kid. It's like Director X-Men.
Oh God.
It has
Oh, the
Tekken
new
style
one?
overlays for the fights.
Oh
scoring
no,
points.
no! It's a fucking video game. Yeah, see, that's the
Oh.
problem with this movie too. Is it's actually out already in other countries. So if anybody knows how I can get a quote unquote free ticket before this week, please hook me up.
Tom, we'll have to talk to make sure you get access to something as soon as you would like it, because I do
Yeah.
sometimes help make things available.
I was gonna say, as far as I know, it might be out already because it's been out but I don't know if it has an English track yet. That's maybe
So
the
here's
problem.
one that Slender might actually go see. Dan to Dan getting its movie release.
Hell yeah.
June 6th, which is, I believe, the first 3 episodes of the new season, the Evil Eye arc,
Yeah, we're gonna have
Um,
to see that.
which is coming out. I think that you want to talk about. All right, so the one that I think is going to be the biggest disappointment of the summer is because Lionsgate is putting so much into this ballerina shit. John Wick as a franchise is Keanu Reeves. It's John Wick.
Well,
it's him.
He's
The
in the movie.
and-
Why do you
quite
think
a
he's in
bit.
the trailers? Yeah.
Yeah,
I know, but people are not gonna like. People don't
I've
show
heard
up for
also that that's-
cameos.
Yeah, I've also heard that what we've seen in the trailers is pretty much the extent of his scenes too. So,
Oh,
I'm
Tom, here
sure.
you go. Ralph Macchio is superfluous to the film. There you go.
oh, that's
It's on there.
figures. Great.
I think
Great.
this movie doesn't even make 30. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's going to be along those same lines as Furiosa. The only thing it has going for it over Furiosa is you actually do have John Wick in it.
Oh, I thought
Right.
I was going to be like Anna
And
de
Anna
Armas
de
actually
Armas.
looks hot.
Well,
So-
you have that too, but I mean, this thing's been
Mm.
reshot, and I don't know if it's been for better or worse, almost completely from what I heard. I mean, I know some people like Culture Casino are real high on it, but I think
I'm
the
looking
mix
forward to it.
and you may be Brahma, but I think the mix of you have most people are going to see this and they're going to see, yeah, it's probably a bait and switch knowing John Wick's not in it. Then again, I could be wrong and that might bring some butts into the seats. But
I think when you give people a jumping off point on a franchise, like, and this is, people undersell this point for normies. Endgame gave everybody a nice resolution wrapped up in a bow for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And a lot of people who aren't committed to, like, like we do YouTube stuff, or who don't like comic book things, are like, peace out. I watched the Marvel movies. They're done now. And
well,
John
especially
Wick,
since Endgame wasn't as good as Infinity War anyway.
yeah, but it gave people, it was just there to give people a happy resolution.
Yeah.
Give Captain America lifting the hammer, Tony Stark making the sacrifice play. It was resolving all family business. And then with John Wick in chapter 4, John Wick dead, allegedly.
Dude,
Except
I
now we know-
told you as we walked out of the theater, I'm like, that dude ain't dead. Like, he faked his death. This is a faked his death situation.
I don't, but I'm saying for
I
the
just find it
average
funny.
person-
Outside of the first movie, he has not accomplished anything.
Nope.
His whole
Well,
thing is,
and the
I'm
rest of my-
challenging the table, and he's never done anything.
Well,
he
the rest of my
killed the
point
guy
is-
who was part of the table. He's killed like 3 people who were at the table now. Because he did, was it the second one? It was the Italian girl, right? And then
And her spot just got filled.
and he killed the guy who filled her spot, right?
And then somebody
was,
else fills in. And it's just,
I don't know. I don't know. I can't even keep up with the system.
then there's the
I don't-
guy out in the desert.
Brahma, how
Killed
many
him.
times do I have to
He
tell
gets
you?
replaced.
I don't even know what a gold coin is actually worth in that goddamn universe, because apparently 1 gold coin is a night at the Continental, but a stack of gold coins is to clean up a couple bodies. The
One
the
gold coin
economics-
is an old fashioned, too.
yeah, the economics of this entire assassin world make no sense, 0 sense.
Yeah, I
And it
would imagine
kills me.
cleaning up a couple of bodies is a lot more expensive than staying a night at a hotel.
But like Brahma just said, a drink at a bar was 1 gold coin, and so was staying at the hotel. That
So,
doesn't
Yeah,
make
none
sense.
of it makes sense. It makes as little sense as Mission Impossible did.
maybe
No,
the
Mission
coins
Impossible
are
was
just
fine. Quit being an asshole about it.
maybe
It
the
was not
coins
good.
don't have a
It was
set
good.
value.
If you want to argue why it was perfectly fine, and you guys are just being curmudgeons about it, the plot
Well,
Who's
was
you guys?
everyone who's being so grumpy about just enjoying an action movie that actually, if my 10-year-old is able to follow the plot and think it's good, I don't know why people are getting so bogged down saying it's overly complicated. It was fighting an AI. It has to have some kind of
be
overly
careful.
complicated
Be
stuff.
careful the analogies you are painting. There are plenty of things that when I was 10 years old, I thought they made perfect sense. Then I grew up and applied reason to them.
Yeah.
Nothing in that movie doesn't make sense.
There's a lot that really doesn't make sense.
All right, let's go for
Including-
it. What doesn't make
Including
sense?
the whole point of the movie.
What is the whole point?
The entity wants to wipe out everything so that it can live in a vault for the rest of its existence.
No. Did you not pay attention? They show you at the very beginning of the goddamn movie that it has cultivated a doomsday cult that worships it, who are
Uh-huh.
going to be the survivors.
And they're going to survive how?
You think
Because
that
they're
people
just
can't
regular people all over the place.
Not everybody dies. Did you watch Terminator? Does it wipe out everybody when you do it? No, it doesn't. There's going to be survivors.
It was talking about launching every nuke that is in existence on the planet.
And that's what they did in Terminator. Judgment Day.
The
All right,
movie was dumb.
If you don't want to
the
pay
fact
attention,
that we had to explain things for an hour and a half before
right.
doing them every
now
single
you're
time
being like,
was
all right.
dumb.
I mean, I don't want to bring it. When Tom was pointing out how the movie Lilo and Stitch gave you plenty of groundwork for why the ending happened with Nani, I'm going to point out that the movie Mission Impossible: Final Reckoning gives you plenty of explanation for the AI's motives and plan if you actually pay attention to what is being said in the movie.
I watched it twice. It's still a whole bunch of nonsense.
It has it had infiltrated people. They were going to be the survivors. They even make the illusion for the to dumb it down, quote unquote. Like, why would you wipe out everything? What would be left? And when the one person, who I won't spoil who says it, said, his line is, I'm sure that Moses and his family, not Moses, Noah and his family said the same thing when they got on the ark. That, if the entity believed it was God, was trying to be God, and was trying to select only its people to survive into the future, so that everyone who was left would be a pawn or follower or tool of the entity. That was
where
well
was
covered
saving
in the
any of
movie.
those people?
You don't think the entity had already made plans on doing that? People get bomb shelters. They're all over. It had infiltrated the governments of the entire world. You don't think it could send people it wanted to bomb shelters? That's why they put in there in the newsreel that there were doomsday cultists worshiping the entity.
Mm-hmm. They're also just idiots who were just randomly pulling out guns and trying to shoot people. Can't let you do that to the entity. Also, thoroughly enjoyed having Ethan explain that this is what the entity wants, and you just have to do the opposite of it and do whatever I say that I'm going to do, because everybody's got to do exactly the opposite of what the entity thinks. If the entity was so smart, why wouldn't the entity take that into account? And it's explained every time he meets a single person in the freaking movie.
Because the entity is taking the steps so that even when Ethan says this, it's the Chicken Little saying the sky is falling, that people won't listen to him.
Even though all the 8 of the 10 nuclear arsenals in the world have already been taken over by the entity, still, nobody would listen.
What was there to... All right. If you keep explaining shit that wrong when it was in the movie and they actually give you the tangible explanation for why the stuff was happening, There's no point because you're just ignoring the story and pretending like it didn't happen, which
Watch it
I don't
again.
understand. I have watched it now. I was the one, I put it on the Secret Service. It's there.
Just the Secret Service. There's other
So-
stuff that's spoilers that I can't get into.
I didn't watch it.
Neither is Tom.
I know, but I just
And I
I'm
already
getting-
laid out my stuff last night, so I don't care.
I think people are just being overly critical because we got to nitpick everything to death. Even when we finally get a movie that's trying, and 2 in a row now with Tom Cruise, where they're actually making good, solid action movies without any of the bullshit, and then we just nitpick.
Mm-hmm. It's what we do to movies.
Yeah. Plus, I think, it's not like we're starved for good, solid action movies right now. There have been quite a few of those that have been pretty good.
I hope it does well because I think Tom Cruise is doing things the right way, but I don't think it was a good Mission Impossible movie.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
honestly,
that's the other thing is it's held to a standard of it's a Mission Impossible movie. It has to reach a certain threshold of quality, right?
It's as quality as any
that
of the
we
Mission
are hoping
Impossible
for.
movies. Yeah.
I mean, I've been saying this thing should have been 3 movies instead of 2 to begin with. That's part of the problem.
This movie
I mean-
should have been 2 movies rather
Well,
than...
that's what I'm saying. You basically split the 2 movies up into 3, then you have 3 2-hour movies instead of 2 3-hour movies, right?
I mean,
But they could have cut out the exposition in this one and had it down to a 2-hour movie easily.
Potentially. I'm not going to disagree with you on that because I haven't seen it, but what I'm saying is, like, to me, if you feel like you need the necessity to tell this big of a story and this big of a tale, why didn't they split it? Because the thing is the 3-hour running time is what's really killing it for me. Because look,
That's what killed it when we went and saw John Wick 4. It was just like, this movie is so fucking
there's no reason
long.
for it. There is no reason for it. I don't know why in the last 10, 15 years, the running times of films has ballooned astronomically when it makes no economical sense. Like, I understand that digital is cheap compared to film. That was one of the reasons why movies were kept roughly around a certain kind of running time in the past unless there was exceptions, right? I get it.
Because you actually had to have film and purchase
Exactly.
film.
Like, it costs a lot of money to send
Well,
out
it
prints of
wasn't
film.
Tom. It wasn't just that. Let me tell you, because I carried around those goddamn movies.
Yeah.
Once you got like King Kong level, like Peter Jackson was
Yeah.
hated in my circles as a projectionist because the movies would be so big you'd need to get 3 people when you needed to move theaters because you'd have little brace locks to put around because we used a platter system. That was the modern projectors all had a platter, which is in the old days you had 2 projectors pointed at the screen and each reel you would just change off. You'd put the next reel up.
Yep.
But in modern theaters, it's like a VHS tape where you had the entire reel sitting on a platter. It goes through
those
and
too,
then it winds to the other platter on top of it.
Well, you said today, which is funny because you mean like 15 years ago.
Yeah, I mean everything's digital now. It's just a hard.
That was my point. Is when we switched over because before that, Peter Jackson, certain other guys got the exception. But to your point, that's one of the big reasons why is because it costs a lot of money and it's a lot to ship those around and deal with all that bullshit. But once things became digital, I get it. But you're still sacrificing show times, right? There was only one studio who kind of really stuck with this. You got to keep your movie in a certain kind of running time range, and that was Warner Brothers. And they always get so much shit for it, but it's like, you know what? We have lost the art of the storytelling of film because it used to be, and I know even script doctors gotten a lot of crap for this. There's always going to be exceptions to the rules, but at the end of the day, there's always kind of been this, at least prior to the modern age, where, kids' movies were an hour, 15 minutes tops. Comedies were 90 minutes. Horror movies were 90 minutes to an hour and 45 minutes. Action movies were an hour and 45 minutes to 2 hours. Dramas were usually 2 hours, hour and 45 minutes, maybe 2 hours and 20, right? At tops. Once in a while you'd have your exceptions. But again, like that was kind of the norm. We didn't expect to go see a movie like Die Hard and expect it to be 3 hours long. And that's basically what you're asking people to do with this Mission Impossible film. And that's a
Well,
problem.
and that's especially bad when you're talking about action movies, because what's the whole point of an action movie, right? It's an adrenaline-filled
Exactly.
romp,
You get
right?
either
Your
fatigue,
adrenaline wears off
Yeah.
after 2 hours, and you get
either get
fucking
fatigue
tired.
or you get too much downtime in between, and you're just
Yep.
kind of like, okay, I'm gonna fall asleep.
And you still have an hour to go.
You literally crash out. Like you can't.
Yeah, I
go
don't think
that
they've
long.
realized how these things work. Like, and then it's kind of quaint to look at something like the Phantom Menace and how they reacted to that, and how audiences reacted to that when it first came out, and then to see
All
some
right,
of these films now.
Phantom Menace was perfectly. I was there. People liked it. It made a shit ton of money.
It did
They
fine,
could
but
have cut the entire pod racing.
I was going to say that narratively, editorially, that movie has been edited more than any film in history by fans because of that. Like that movie has a lot of problems, and even George admitted it at the end of the first screening when they watched it, and he's like, "Well, I can't change it now." And then Ben
Duel
Burt's
of the
like,
Fates was awesome. The rest of the movie could have used a lot more work.
Well, and Ben Burt brings up, and the funny thing is, and this is why I bring this up, because he brings up a modern problem we have with a lot of movies, and this sounds a lot like a Marvel film when I explain this, because he goes, here's the problem, George. In the span of less than 2 minutes, you go from the death of Qui-Gon to the Gungan War to the palace with the Queen taking over and getting the Viceroy, and then back to the death of Darth Maul. And do you realize
Meanwhile, for 40 minutes, you've got some kid racing around a track.
He doesn't
on
say
a
that
fucking
part,
pod.
but I mean, he's kind of pointing out how you're shoving too much emotional changes into one, like into too small of a package. And that's kind of how every Marvel movie is now, right? Like we talk about how the jokes always land at bad times and all this other shit. That's kind of where a lot of this shit started. I'm not trying to dump on George Lucas, but it's true. And because that's where a lot of this shit kind of started, because that's where a lot of the classic traditional storytelling kind of went out the window. And George is like, I'm just going to do whatever the fuck I want because I can do whatever the hell I want now. And I want to show off my toys.
Well,
and in that, there's like a loss of storytelling and emotional grounding. And this is why I've said the problem with the prequel trilogy is the main reason that it sucks is because you don't have a main character to follow in that it should have been Obi-Wan Kenobi. Right.
And I don't want to speak well of Mark Hamill too much, but apparently there was a line in the very first Star Wars movie that he just thought was absolutely terrible, and he had to fight George Lucas tooth and nail to get him to ditch that line because it was a really long, wordy, stupid line that Luke Skywalker never would have said.
But he has to go to Tashi Station to get some power converters.
That was everybody from what I heard. Like even Harrison Ford famously said, look, you can type this shit, George, but you can't fucking say it.
Yeah, and the problem you ran into later down the line is George Lucas doesn't have anybody giving him those on-the-fly edits anymore because he's the god of Star Wars now.
And that's and the point I was getting to is because I think that's where we've kind of gotten with these Mission Impossible movies with Tom Cruise. Look, I love him. I love what he's doing for film. I used to hate him as an actor, but I've grown to love him over time. But this is a big misstep, and I really think it's going to hurt his career. At least not. It's not going to ruin his career, but I think it's going to hurt his image for a little bit, possibly, because that's 2 Mission Impossible films in a row that he's had basically taken a
which
dive.
Makes me think that he's going to want to do another one to try to go out on a high note.
No, he's going to do Top Gun 3 next.
Yeah, I was say,
I know, but I don't think this will be the last Mission Impossible.
Which,
I don't think so.
Here's the thing, and as Eric pointed out earlier, the last 2 Mission Impossibles got wildly out of control with budget for a lot of reasons that weren't just, all right, it wasn't because they went and reshot Snow White 3 times. They actually ran into genuine issues. I think with reasonable, and with Skydance taking over, they clearly are intimately aware of the financing and getting money back for Mission Impossible movies. If Paramount is going to keep making them, they're going to probably rein the budget down in probably around 120, at most, I would say. And I think under a normal circumstance, there's no problem that would keep you from making a very good Mission Impossible movie at $120 million budget. And if you do that, you're going to get guaranteed profit pretty much every time, at least based on its track record. That's where the issue comes in.
They also have to pull it back a little bit on what they're trying to do with the movies too, because it's starting to feel like Fast and Furious. We just have to one up and one up and one up. Not going as ridiculous as going into space with cars, but
they derailed an entire train last one, and
sequences
this
have to
one
go
they
one
went
up.
into, and this time it was on biplanes. I wouldn't say that's like crazy.
Biplanes and the
one-ups.
full submarine sequence that's 30 minutes long.
The submarine sequence was amazing.
Uh-huh.
I don't know, why do you
But
hate
I'm
the
saying-
submarine sequence?
I don't hate this submarine sequence.
I
I'm
don't know
saying
why
they're
you're complaining about
one-upping.
it. Those
At
like
some
doing
point, the scale has to come back down. There's multiple nukes in this movie that are just left around.
No, they all got
At one
blown
point,
up.
a nuke would have been a major issue in Mission Impossible. Now, guys just leaving nukes left and right. Here, Luther, you have one. Here, we'll have one in the vault too. And
they go off. Do you not pay attention? They all blow up. They just don't go critical.
yes,
They
I paid
explain that
attention
in
to
the-
it.
I don't. So I don't know what.
The
What do you
fact
mean
that
they
he's
all
just
blow
got
up, but
random
they don't go
nukes.
critical.
The fact that this dude's just running around with random nukes is what I'm saying is going over the top compared to the older movies.
He was the chief henchman of the world dominating AI. I'm pretty sure he was able to get equipment that he needed to make a couple, small nuke bombs. It's not shocking.
You're not hearing what I'm saying.
I'm
saying
say
they're pushing the limits to where it gets to be too fantastical. They would need to rein it back in a little bit.
It's called power creep.
Yes. I'm saying like Fast and the Furious or like John Wick, they just keep going too fantastical.
Well, and the problem with Mission Impossible is the same thing, and not to compare it to the Transformer films, but they both suffer from the same issue, is every film is pretty much the same, really, at the end of the day. And the biggest problem with that is every one of these movies is a cataclysmic world-ending event, usually. Since the, third film, pretty much? Maybe even the second one, I'm trying to remember.
for Mission Impossible.
Yeah, and that's a problem.
The second
too.
one was the Chimera virus, so that could have been world-ending.
Yeah,
So
see, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's the problem. Is each one of they're missing the ones that feel like they're a bit more episodic, in a sense. Like, that's the problem with this franchise. Is you can get away with doing bottle movies once in a while. Right? Look at Star Trek as a great example. Like, every other one of those movies is kind of that way. Like, they amortized the next movie after the last one they spent a little more money on. You know what I mean? Like, they reused as much as they could.
Smaller scale story.
Well, it
Yeah,
also
and smaller scale
when
stories
they
each
did
time.
Undiscovered
get to
Country,
5, yeah.
they were reusing the sets from the Next Generation TV show, so they didn't have to build everything.
And then they did that, exactly. So, like, that's my point, is like even 4 is an example of a film where a lot of it's shot on Earth, so they didn't have to do a lot of the space special effects and all that kind of business. And 3 kind of feels like it's a little lesser version of 2 as far as the amount of money that was spent on it, because it was kind of true. So like, yeah, you have that once in a while. You got to do a little bit smaller scale movie, and I don't think these movies would have hurt if like every other one or every second one was kind of a more smaller scale personal story that wasn't a world-ending cataclysmic thing. And I don't even see, the other problem is I don't even understand half of how this shit works anymore, because each and every movie, it's either he's being betrayed by the MI team themselves or the government or both. It's like, what team is anybody really on anymore? Like, that's
Well, the
where I'm at.
IMF was always supposed to be like an independent.
Yeah, I know, and that's what I'm saying. So that's what I'm saying. So you either have one or the other in either movie, right? So like, it's just anyway. But then this one, they're saying if you haven't seen 1, 3, and the last one, then you're going to be lost anyway. So, and
No,
I
they
hated
do. I mean,
3.
No, my wife hasn't watched any of them, and she felt
You would just need to
perfectly
see the first part.
The movie does a good part of it. It to its what some people might say to its detriment, but it takes time to give you the setup for why something is important and reference back. Like, they don't say like movie number, they don't go Mission Impossible 3, but they show you a flashback scene within the context of this movie to give you what was happening that they're referencing. So you don't have to have seen any previous Mission Impossible movie to be able to follow the plot. I think
I
perfectly
think
fine.
Chad's too close to this. I knew this would happen.
Well,
You guys
I think we
are
need
trying
to,
to
move on
hurt his
something else
baby.
anyway, but yeah. I mean, mainly what I'm saying, though, is I think they need to remember that this is based on a TV show. Like, that's kind of the point I was getting to. Like, sometimes you got to kind of take it back and remind people that it was a TV show at one time and what made the TV show popular. So.
I'm just picturing Chad as that girl in the car, except he's like, "Leave Tom Cruise alone.
Well,
Leave him alone."
the only other main issue I have with these movies, and Brahma knows, I think I brought this up before on Toxic Stream, is that the problem with these is since the first film up until this last one, the whole big thing that set everything off in the first movie is his whole team got killed. So they've had this thing where it's kind of like this thing with him where he doesn't want to lose anybody, right? So it's a big deal to him. And I was saying for the last couple of movies as we got going here, I'm like, somebody's got to die. Or otherwise, none of that really matters anymore. It's kind of like, why even have that point, or why even have...
And they did it for each of the last two movies.
They did, but the one they did in the last one was a character they had just introduced. So to me, that is a cheap cop-out.
They hadn't
hate
just
it when they do that.
I mean, she had been in 4 movies.
Really? Was she in 4 of them? I can't remember.
She was in
4, but
she was in Rogue State, Fallout.
Okay,
and then,
all right,
so
fair
3.
enough.
She was
Fair
in
enough.
3.
But I was like one of the originals, but like still, it's like he's still at that point. That was the first time they finally had really killed anybody remotely close, and it still felt kind of like okay.
And I still don't know what happened to Paula Patton, so she might have died off screen. They never talk about her.
Or Jeremy Renner.
No, he was
I
in
will
one of the
say
sequels. Remember?
As far as
No, I mean,
Hollywood
as
goes
far as
in
being
general,
in this.
AI is always a bad idea. Like, Hollywood does not fucking understand AI at all. There are some movies that make it kind of work, and then there are some movies that just don't know what the fuck they're talking about.
This one was fairly
Sure.
I mean, I don't.
Sure.
What was not accurate for an AI that goes?
I
rogue
don't
and
know.
takes
I
over?
haven't seen the movie.
So
Chad,
why are
but I
you
will tell you right
complaining?
now, every AI ever portrayed in any Hollywood movie ad infinitum since the beginning of Hollywood has been way off. Matrix fucked it up. Mach fucked it up. iRobot fucked it up. Everything fucks it up.
All right.
But that's from a guy
about-
who works with AI. So
I think that I think you're not being. Anyway, you haven't even seen it, so you can't really talk. You're gonna
Yes,
go back
I can.
and watch.
I just
you're gonna,
did. Would you
you're
like
gonna
me to
go
talk
back-
some more?
Go. Like, are you gonna tell me that did Terminator fuck up AI?
Yes.
In
Yes.
1 and 2?
Why the fuck would AI go, we got to go back and kill John Connor, when they could have just been like, hey, we're going to go back 10 years and tell them what John Connor did so that they can develop a plan to counter John Connor. Fuck him. Like, come on.
Anyway.
Also,
So let's talk about Mobland. And while you
Tom's
were
going to get in
completely
trouble
wrong,
when I tell comics that that Tom called it toxic show.
all right, let's put some heat on Slender, who last week was the one who was telling us that that's just they just
Well,
cut
who's
off
the
his
fucking
arm. It was
producer,
just a
Brown? I mean,
chainsaw.
really?
It was just a chainsaw. I mean,
Sorry.
because Brendan is dead.
I mean,
Dead,
yeah,
dead,
that's
dead,
what they're
dead.
saying.
No, not what they're saying. He's
That's
And I
the
dead.
knew
first
that
thing
because
that
I
they
went back
say.
and checked, and you know what we didn't notice? This is funny. We could have settled this last time. There's a still, or they show for about a second or two an image before it goes dead. You can see him dead as hell. He's dead. Yeah.
No, I missed that.
I
Yeah.
saw his hand fall limp when I went back and did the rewatch, but
No, you actually see a full on frontal shot. He's blood all over, like he got cut down the center of his body.
Yeah, when the
basically.
stream gets cut. Yeah.
Yep.
I didn't notice that.
I didn't
So,
until I went back to because I wanted to reestablish the last part of the show, because I was like, I misremembering how certain things went, so I just wanted to make sure I got things back in order.
Yeah, we must
All
have
right.
missed that. But yeah, he's definitely dead. I don't disagree with that.
Very first thing that's said in this episode.
Yep. So I just wanted to start with that since that was our point of contention last week, which my severance package is
Sunday morning. Chad gets backstage for the show, and I was like, "Well, your severance is safe," because I watched it Saturday night.
That's right. You bet your severance on it.
Well, I'm sorry. This isn't like some anime. People aren't surviving taking chainsaws to the. Oh, all right. So, like we do normally, just real quick, you kind of like take/review of the episode. Slender, what do you think this week?
This week, it's all right. They're building up toward the end, so there wasn't a whole lot going on in this one, in my opinion.
I think this week they kind of depended on the twist to really carry it over, because the end has a twist you like that was slightly telegraphed, but it still was, I think, unexpected in how it came out.
Oh no, I expected this to go exactly the way it did.
Yeah. All right. So, Brahma, what do you think?
I think we're all in agreement. This one was a little bit on the slower side. Not as much happening. Still a good episode, just not.
Yeah.
It's building up to the last episodes. Is it 2 episodes left?
There's 10 this
episodes
season,
left.
so there's 9. So,
So, yeah.
9 this Sunday, and then one more.
Yeah. I think things will really start to kick off this Sunday.
Oh, I did like one thing Harry did in this episode quite a bit. We'll get to it.
Amelia said, I thought it was one of the best episodes. I love the roaming camera in the house. So it was shot very well, especially in the context of what happened. But I do think when you're kind of mapping out your season of television, last week was so intense and ended so, dramatic. It makes sense to have an episode where you're kind of taking a breath after
and it's
the big events.
I think it's kind of like that last episode where I kind of probably wrongly said that it was a bit of a lull too. I think those episodes are more, and the more I think about it, and we'll probably find out in the next 2 episodes. I mean, that's kind of why you guys are saying it's setting things up. They're seed planting episodes, is what he does.
Yeah.
And I think that's what
and
this
you
one
have
was
to have
more
the
so,
ebb so that we can feel the flow, right? Like episode 9 is going to build into the big finale in episode 10. If it was just going nonstop, we'd get, you'd lose that. You'd lose that climax. The climax would just get lost in the noise. So you needed.
It's kind of start to turn into the first
lull.
couple seasons of Yellowstone too, where too much was happening too fast.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So so we open up the episode with the confirmation that Brendan's dead, because Maeve and Conrad are having their
Talking about his birth.
Our son's dead, reminiscing about their son being gone. And then
Who
we
has
get
like
the
25 names. Did you guys catch that?
Yeah, well, he's Irish.
Yeah. They just kept listing the names for him. It was crazy.
And this was an interesting. So Seraphina's in the truck, SUV, being driven by the cartel henchman.
They didn't even give her a towel.
No, no towel. You're just you still got your brother's blood all over you. We're driving you into there.
And she just thinks to herself, when he said this deal was going to make me wet, I didn't think this is what he meant.
Yeah. Amelia, like, by the way, one important point: Conrad and Maeve's accent are Colchi, whatever.
Yeah,
I'm from Ireland, and they are meant to be boggers, even though the accent sunk.
What are boggers?
I would imagine that means low class, like the what would it be in England?
Like Irish rednecks?
Yeah, probably.
Pikeys?
Okay.
No, there's a
Pikeys are bare knuckle boxing champions.
I know. I'm just.
What's the London? Was it East End accent of London or something? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, she said Irish rednecks.
Yes,
Okay.
Irish accent, Irish rednecks. There you go. So, all right. So Seraphina is rightly not looking like she's having a good day. And,
well, she's not. She's having the worst possible day.
And so they bring her to Harry, and then make a point of reminding Harry who he owes now as a result of.
Yeah, so they haven't
No.
really told us who she is necessarily, but it's a big deal, obviously, that he owes her a favor, and then they kept asking how he knows her, and then clearly, like, so she must be another mobster or something like that because he wanted her to go work. Everybody wants Harry to work for him.
I
yeah,
thought
I can't
this was
figure out
a
if she's
reminder
another
of a.
mobster or if she's a government agent of some kind.
That's
And I
what made
thought
me
they were
wonder, too,
reminding
yeah.
him not about the favor that he owes her, but the favor that the guy who stopped the killing is now owed for doing it.
No, it's Cat. It's all about this episode was all about Cat.
Cat's brought up later. This
No,
one I
Yeah,
think
I
is
think he's
about
right,
their
actually.
boss. Their
I think
boss
he's
is
right.
now owed a favor for stopping working for
I
Richie.
think he's right. I think that's the way I took it when I remember. Yeah, from what I recall.
Was this is yeah? So this might be where he came up with the idea of moving in on the fentanyl deal later in the episode with Cat.
Yes.
So we get then we get the intro credits. We get Serafina being brought back home and Conrad seeing her. Then we get the most disingenuous Maeve moment of the show.
I
After-
hope at some point we get to see her brains splatter across the wall through the
Well, they're
Yeah.
setting it up pretty good because it's only a moment. It's just one click away from, when Richie basically says, your fucking wife called me, right? And gave me.
Yeah.
And was
I
gonna
don't know
give me
why
your
he didn't
daughter.
say that before.
I know. I'm waiting for him any one of these times to say it. And I think he's doing it on purpose, right? He's fucking with Maeve just as much as he is Conrad, right? Like it's like he's just having a field day right now with this whole thing. Is basically what I see, and he's going to be even more pissed when he finds out this part. Or did he find out that what's her face is still alive? I can't remember. But
All right,
yeah.
so this is so Serafina's still like they start just asking her what happened, and I don't even know why they need to bother because they know that Richie just intercepted whatever plan they were there doing. But I guess they're maybe trying to figure out where the
they're
leak
still
came
trying
from.
to figure out who, because
Yeah.
that's the thing.
Yeah. And that's when Maeve comes in, and Maeve, who is our entire previous experience with Maeve with Serafina in this show is Maeve coming in and saying you're a bastard bitch and you have no right to be in this family. She suddenly turns into like super caring, mom incarnate here.
Tells her
Like,
she's a
oh,
Harrigan now.
You're a Harrigan. I mean, maybe she absorbed Brendan's blood through her
I was
skin or
gonna
something.
say.
Osmosis.
Well, clearly she's doing it on purpose. She's doing some kind of play, whether it's something for in the near future or she knows that she is clearly the stronger of the kids, so Conrad's going to end up picking her anyway, so she's trying to make a play now and do something, but she's setting her up somehow, obviously.
Yeah.
She
now
may be
this-
trying to cover her own ass too, since
Yeah.
she's already been half caught in a lie with that text message thing.
That seems, I thought that at
Yeah.
first too, but that seems too obvious on the surface because Maeve is always somebody who seems to be a step ahead of Conrad right now. At least he's catching up with her, but she's still a step ahead yet. Like she knows that she already knew and kind of had her inklings that Serafina was one of his favorites anyway. But then, of course, we get the big reveal this episode that we all predicted in the last few episodes coming up here once we get to it. But yeah. So she's playing her little fucking game here, and it's gonna come to a head sooner or later. I just don't know if it's gonna be this at the end of this season or sometime during next season or what. But yeah, it's like even Richie has plenty of stuff to go after her with. Almost everybody could, if just 2 or 3 of the right people get in the room together alone without her and start putting two and two together, because Conrad already is. And we already know Harry's kind of figuring shit out too. So
Harry basically says it at the end of the episode.
well, and that's what I'm saying, because like this whole thing, every
Maeve's
time
running the show now.
Yeah. So like
Harry doesn't say it at the end of the episode. He says it flat out in the middle of the episode. I just couldn't tell if he was serious or not.
that's because I think he knows. Obviously, he knows just as much as the audience for the most part, except for a few things. So like he's already figured this thing out.
I still find it funny that Richie technically has done nothing wrong. And yet these are our protagonists that are antagonists.
Well, he didn't do anything wrong. Well, technically, until he killed a bunch of what was it, FBI or CIA?
Yeah, I'm still rooting for him.
Yeah. I do. Yeah, it's not like
No, I mean he did nothing wrong to the Harrigans.
Yeah, because that's what's
It
going to
all
help
started
the
with Eddie.
Harrigans. See, that's one thing I could see like telegraphed from a mile away is now that Richie just fucking signed his own death warrant by doing that. Like that's going to help the Harrigans in the long run probably because they're going to go take him out now first. So that's the thing, one way or the other.
But did he sign his own death warrant?
Yeah,
I think
because then he
did.
asked the other guy who's
Because the
in
guy working with
charge.
the FBI.
I know. Well, yeah, but he's
Is-
like a little snake himself, so he's going to die before.
Let's
I'm sure he will, but I don't think he signed his death warrant by doing it. I think
let's go through the rest
think
of
that
it.
was
We'll
a
get
show of
there.
power.
We'll get there.
You could be right. We'll see.
We're jumping
That's
ahead.
what I love about this show, and that's what I was talking about this show being a seed episode is there was a lot of things planted here that I'm not sure what direction they're going necessarily.
They've got a lot of stuff.
So immediately Conrad comes asks the most vital question, like, how did you stop?
How do you know Cat?
And that's when Harry, it's like pulling teeth. He's like, I called Cat, and because I know I couldn't get to Richie. Yeah, so Cat could, and that's when this is our first it's almost like a little bit of a John Wick style introduction where when the guy is the big badass mob boss
Baba
is
Yaga.
actually like I wouldn't want to owe Cat a favor. Let's make it clear that you owe Cat that favor, not me, not the Harrigans.
And then he's like, how did you even get her information? How do you know her? And he's like, well, she approached me.
I love that. Yeah, this whole thing sounds like a talk. Like I was on LinkedIn and one of her recruiters reached out, but it is nice.
Well, what'd you say? I said I'd think about it.
But I wouldn't. He's like, but I know that if I ever left, you'd kill me within a week because of the things I know. He's being he's being pretty accurate. Like it's not even a matter of if I wanted to for my family. I'm too deep into this organization. You'd never let me get out of it.
Yeah, it's not personal. It's just business. I understand that.
Yeah, Pierce Brosnan doing some of his best paranoid psychotic work here.
With a dash of pedophile.
Yeah. Well, luckily, never mind. I was gonna say one of his other sons confirmed.
Yeah, that's never stopped him before, Chad.
Is taking care of that work now. Oh wait, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
We get that information in this episode too.
So this is our introduction, our proper introduction to our new police character. He's apparently the expert on bringing down organized crime, criminal organizations, because he dealt with Richie in the past.
In the 70s.
In the 70s. And
his speech about being a carp fisherman, though, just really did not resonate me. I'm like, ew, carp? Really? Carp is gross, and they'll eat
trash
anything.
fish.
Like,
yeah, they are not hard
talking
to catch.
about they're hard to catch.
They literally, you could fish with a piece of styrofoam, and they would
they'll bite anything.
Right. Toby Jones is a top shelf character actor, and bringing him into this show is just another sign that the people who are making this show are doing their level best to cast it really perfectly, because he's kind of got that, and which comes up later. From the beginning of seeing Toby Jones and his conversations with him, you get the idea that he's kind of was a little bit of a sleazy cop, dirty cop, maybe was not doing things the right way when he was talking about how to do certain stuff.
Corrupted by being the person who deals with the mob.
Yeah, and boy, did we get that. Well, we get that confirmed by the end. Now we're back to Conrad and Harry having their conversations. This is Toby Jones giving his grand speech about basically if we can't do, the way to get to the Harrigans is to go through Richie. Use their enemy as your ally.
Get in bed with their enemy.
Yep. Harry gets his call. And he's talking with Kevin. Now their relationship.
Now Kevin's asking the same question. How do you know Cat?
Yeah, because remember, Kevin and Harry are probably, at least at the beginning of this show, the two tightest characters
They
any of
still
the
are.
groups.
They really still
No,
are.
there's a lot of strain because, and it's not really, it's not just what's been happening. Kevin is just, he's
Kevin's
dealing
about
with
to snap.
his wife is clearly ready to just leave him. She's disinterested in
For
him
his
and wants
dad.
to be gone. We've got the fact
shit.
that his house has been blown up. He's apparently, we now know he's been aware the entire time that the child he's raising that he can't stand is his brother, not his son.
Mhm.
And then on top of that, Harry brings up what he has repressed so long, which was that he got totally sleepered when he was in the
Yeah, Harry
the
shouldn't have brought that up.
yeah, look at him like, his wife isn't his wife, his child isn't his child, and his parents hate him. I don't think that Conrad hates him, but I think him and Maeve have no love lost. And what actually, it makes a lot more
Well,
sense.
yeah, doesn't he call Maeve a fucking bitch at one point?
Well, now we get the
When
backstory.
she's trying to get him to turn on Serafina.
Yeah.
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 And I think we're seeing why he would feel that way, because clearly Maeve has been twisting the knife about Eddie for a long time.
Well, and I think both Maeve and Conrad, to a certain degree, keep Kevin at a distance because Kevin is the threat. Kevin is the one who could take over tomorrow and run the family if he had to.
Possibly more competently. than they have
100% more competently.
Because as we pointed out when he said, "Oh, the Mexican cartels, you mean the guy whose father you insulted right to his face is going to do us a favor?" No, he's not.
I also love when Kevin gets out of the car in this scene and he's like, "Oh, yeah, sure. I'm just going to go upstairs and blow my brains out now."
I was gonna say Kevin is too flawed for that. See, that's the problem, and that's where I keep seeing Serafina as being the one who'll probably end up taking over at some point.
The actual business
Yeah.
mind.
Yeah,
I just
think
don't see
Kevin
any of them
could-
coming out of it except for Harry.
No,
Well,
I
that
think
too, you
Kevin
got
could
that aspect of it.
competently run the family. I don't think he wants to because I don't think he's a bad boy. Like, I don't think he's a mob
I don't know
guy.
about that either. I mean, he likes to be able to get swift justice, but here's my point: is he is a ticking time bomb. He is so beaten down and oppressed and treated in a way that, like that.
He can only bend so much before he snaps.
Exactly, and he's
No,
not.
I totally
he's not
agree with
built
that
like
part.
he's not strong enough as Harry is, and he's not as smart as Serafina is. And then the other part is you look at, and this is where I was kind of just to go back to the whole thing with, there's more to that situation with Maeve than what we're probably thinking on the surface, is when we think about Eddie this whole time and how she probably views him and how expendable he probably is to her as well. And we've kind of just touched on that from the start anyway. But like, that's the thing is, does Maeve even really give a shit about any of her kids really at the end of the day? That's what I'm starting to fucking wonder.
It's the same with Conrad when you think about it, right? Like
I
that's
think
gotta
Conrad
be
genuinely does.
that's
I
got to
think he
be a bit of
genuinely
a bit of a psychological damage sort of situation for Kevin in that, oh, yeah, I'm not good enough to run the family. I'm good enough to get all my dad's sloppy seconds, though. I get his kid, I get his girl. I don't get anything of my own. It all just becomes my problem when dad's done with it.
See, and I think we've had the take about Eddie and her wrong the whole time because she hates bastards. So
that's what
I
I'm getting
think
at. That's exactly what I'm getting at, Brahma. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we were dead wrong about
That's what I'm
their
saying. I was kind of
relationship.
rethinking it this week, especially when she threw it out there like she did. It's like, I mean, we all knew it, but it was like, okay, so how does she know? And now that we know she knows,
It's more
what
of
is
a
she
reminder
up
to
to?
Kevin that, it's a reminder that she knows that he knows, and it's also a reminder that you are the actually only, direct Harrigan now out of the
No,
sons.
she said no because she said you are your brother.
And the
She's
brother
the
she
one.
means is Eddie.
Yeah, that's my point.
And she hates bastards. She's not going to let
No.
Eddie take over.
But she raised Eddie, so she's fine with him. Like, it's Serafina is not Irish blood, but
Oh yeah, no, she does not want. She's got other plans for Serafina. Serafina, as far as
Yeah.
she's concerned, is going to go out.
No,
of the picture
but
to
with
another
Eddie,
plan.
I
I think she's
Maeve.
gonna stab Eddie in the back now.
No,
I think
Maeve
she
is.
will.
No, I think Maeve is 100% Team Eddie because Eddie's the one she can control and be in charge with.
I see where
Eddie-
you're coming
Used,
from, and
but
I
I
thought
think
that at
she
first.
sees him as a bastard too.
But yeah, exactly. Brahm and I are coming from the same place now, to where it's like, okay, so what has she got in store for him here? Because she has a grand design.
Yeah,
She
Amelia-
has a plan.
Amelia
We don't
Scroll
know
Arms
yet.
on my side thinks she loves Eddie. I think that's the case too because
I don't think
she
she does
clearly-
actually.
she took Eddie from when he was born, basically from Bella, and has raised that kid to be hers. So this isn't from my
I
side,
think she
I-
did that on
I
purpose
don't-
because she psychologically has been setting this up for
It's
years.
more like a hostage.
no.
Exactly.
No, I think this is hers.
I'm well. That's where me and Brahm are. I'm gonna. stick
I'm going
Brahm
with
on this
more
one.
like
Yeah.
Game of Thrones hostage.
Exactly. Yeah.
Where do
like,
you think, Slender?
I mean, I think she raised an attack dog, and all she'll ever see him as is her dog. And you can love your dog, but it's still not your kid.
Yeah, it's still expendable at the end of the day.
Right.
Exactly. And that's the thing, is she's clearly probably slept with Richie in the past too. And that's the other thing. What skeletons does she have in her closet yet that haven't come out? So this whole thing is, at the end of the day, I mean, it's about, is this family even going to be a family by the end of this whole thing? Yeah.
And we also found out that Harry and Jan have been together over 20 years now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we get our first Jan sighting. So yeah, they were together, which is why
So it wasn't just a pregnancy, shotgun marriage type situation.
Right. Like we had kind of thought about, but we still don't know for sure if they hadn't slept together yet. They still haven't.
What, that
given
him
us
and
a-
Bella? Oh no,
Yeah.
he didn't sleep with Bella. She just wants it so bad because she didn't get it.
If they've been together for 20 years, they must have been like high school sweethearts or something.
Yeah, and then I think their daughter's probably 19.
Not necessarily, because they could still be in their 40s and met in college or whatever. I think they said they met in college or age or whatever.
I don't feel
yeah.
like Harry went to college.
No, I know, but she probably did.
What do you mean you don't feel like Harry went to college? Clearly, he's got like a poli-sci degree or something.
No, but
right?
she probably
Business
did. Was
degree.
my point.
Hey, I have a poli-sci degree.
I know that
doesn't
was
make
the
So do
joke.
I.
Yep. All right, so our Jan, look, this is our Jan upset face. Like every married man scene, like the wife just giving you the look, like except in her case it's because now her daughter. Now this was actually in terms of this episode, my favorite sequence is Harry with Eddie because he gets
Yes.
told about what his daughter's been up to. And so he goes to, have a conversation with Eddie. And, from the moment, like, look at Eddie thinking he's hot shit. Like, I banged your daughter, man.
I'm a
Your
Harrigan.
daughter,
I own you.
I own you. And then Harry,
Oh, the one thing I will say,
yeah,
I
I mean,
feel
it's
like
it is a
Harry,
master
play
class
here.
in control. Yeah.
I feel like Harry missed a golden opportunity. I'd have responded differently. I think Harry's approach works very, very well. But when he's like, "Oh, let me guess, if I ever do anything to your daughter, you'll kill me," I'd have been like, "No, that's what you'll beg me to do, but that won't happen."
I kind of feel like it's a little implied with the way Harry kind of goes at the
Oh
end.
no, Harry handled it just fine.
Yeah.
I
But-
wish he would have threatened him harder.
Well, he
Yes,
could have
but-
also just turned around and said, "Oh no, my daughter will do that for me." But
Yeah, because
you'll wish it was me. Yeah, that's what you were saying. Yeah.
Yeah, to summarize, so Eddie starts the conversation trying to be like, "Look at me, look what I've been doing," and
She's
aren't you
getting
going to
some
be?
grade A dicking because I'm a Harrigan.
Aren't you mad about it? And then like Harry sits him down, and then this is the look. That's perfect.
Well, and
Where
I
he's-
think Harry also knows that his daughter's just using
Oh yeah,
Eddie
which
as
is
well. So
yeah.
yeah.
that's why he's saying like the smartest person I know is my daughter. I trust my daughter. He also is smart enough to know, and I think this is true for a lot of dads, and Harry gets it. If you try to
If you
drive
try
that
to
wedge,
stop him, it's just
it's-
going to make it worse.
that's when the daughter is gonna like try to be. But I
Right.
love him, so Eddie's gonna give him enough rope. Because he knows Eddie too. Like there's in I you know Harry is 100% confident that Eddie is not going to be able to sustain more than maybe 36 hours
Well,
of
and
doing
doesn't
this.
he tell his daughter too? He's like, because he's a murdering psychopath.
Yeah, when they're on the stairs.
Oh yeah, I mean we have talked about how this actor, he's so good. Like he's probably a genuinely sweet, nice guy, but he's so good in this
But
role.
after this series, he's going to get the Joffrey treatment or the
Exactly.
Draco Malfoy treatment as an actor.
Yeah, because he's just and he's so good at he acts with his eyes really well. You like when you if only Amber Heard could tear up on cue like this kid can.
The actor playing Eddie is really good at going from like 0 to oh shit. He can look all like he thinks he's a badass, and then in the next 5 seconds go to oops. I think
Pompous to I'm
fucked up.
screwed.
I know, and it's really good because he plays in wrestling, right? You know, they talk about how a guy has to be, you got to be over on the moves, right? You got to sell. And there was a funny story about how Stone Cold Steve Austin would give stuff to The Rock every time he sold on a stunner. And so if you go back and watch the footage from the WWE, like The Rock just
Rock would bounce 5 feet in the air.
he
after.
he oversells every stunner that's ever done to him. This kid with Harry over here, Eddie and Harry, Tom Hardy and whoever this actor is, he is so good at playing off like Tom Hardy's quiet, controlled rage kind of that he's projecting, where you can see this arrogant little shit immediately lose when he's confronted by a real in control powerful man. He just can't, like, he just shrivels, and you see it in the face the way he acts. It's so good. And this scene was like the culmination of that kind of really going back to the bathroom at the funeral when he did it to him to this one. It's these two are like every time they're on screen doing this kind of thing, it's amazing. So so Harry starts basically telling him, I trust my daughter. I'm gonna trust my daughter, and if I'm gonna support her choice. If she thinks that you're a worthy man, good for you. You should be you should be happy. You should be overjoyed that she is picking you. And this is where it's like surprising him, like, oh, I was doing this to get your disapproval. I was trying to get a response. And this little shit like can't let it go. So on the way out is where he tries to tell him like, but I'm a Harrigan and I own you. And then the Slender is pointed out. That's where Harry kind of puts him in his place.
Yeah.
Right. What
Harry
was the line?
basically is like Harry's basically like, yes, you are a Harrigan, and I will be rising up with you as one of the people that helps take care of this family, and I'll be standing next to you as you take over, and then I'm gonna push you off the cliff.
Yeah, like I will be. It also shows him, and it's him. It's more than implied. It's pretty direct that like I would never do this to Conrad. I would never do this to Kevin. But I would be completely comfortable eliminating from the family. If we get to the point where you're the head of the family, I don't have any qualms about removing you. So,
yeah.
The face is great. This is where the daughter brings up the Electra complex. Basically, it's because of you, Dad. You're the reason. It's like,
well, he tells her that Eddie is a murderer, a psychopathic murderer, and she goes, "Well, have you whatever the complex is?" And he's like, "Yeah, I don't know what that is." And she's like, "Well, it's when a daughter will go after men who remind them of their dad," and then walks away.
Yeah. So in classic
accusing him of being a psychopath and a murderer too.
Yeah. In classic Greek mythology, everybody's more familiar with the Oedipal complex, Oedipus. Unknowingly, this is important. A lot of people get this wrong. Oedipus unknowingly ends up sleeping with his mother, and then when he finds out that it was his mother, claws his own eyes out, and then it's a Greek tragedy. So that's where the Oedipus complex comes from, which is the psychological term for men seeking out women that are like their mother,
like their mothers.
Yeah, the counter to that is another Greek myth, which became a Greek tragedy play, which is Electra. Electra ends up sleeping with her father. And so the Electra complex is the counterpoint to Oedipal, where in this case it's women seeking out, or as we say it in colloquial, daddy issues. And so it's actually probably more well known than the Oedipal complex, but it's just known by the name.
Not by the name
in the 21st century, which is it's a daddy issue. Are you a daddy issue lesbian? Or are you really born that way? So.
Yeah, but she's so deep into the psychological stuff. It's like, does she really have this complex, or is she just doing this on purpose?
She was needling.
She was needling.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I'm like, she's just fucking with him.
She's there, and that she can't do her own thing.
That's why she keeps doing it to everybody else. Exactly. Yeah.
Which is also why I think that Harry is not concerned about it, because even this conversation would make you less concerned that she's genuinely attracted to Eddie.
Right.
Because
the only reason I would be concerned as a father would just be because Eddie could hurt her, but I really don't think Eddie would.
Yeah, long-term STDs. Yeah.
Yeah, the STDs would be a problem. Yeah, obviously.
But really, even though he says he doesn't know what the complex is, I mean, it is.
Are you being quiet for the
kind of like me?
Yep.
Everybody wants to hear Sadie bark. I mean, I guess I can.
Yeah. No. Yeah. It's so that I think Tom Hardy. Yeah. Like again, Harry, smart enough to know she's doing this to piss off. She's doing this specifically
to get it.
Knowing, like, what would be the thing I would do that would piss off mom and dad, specifically dad, the most.
And that keeps me off of Maeve's radar. She didn't go sleep with Conrad.
Well. Yeah.
I don't think she wanted to go sleep with Conrad. Conrad.
Do you think she wanted to sleep with Eddie?
I think what Conrad has got in the last 20 years is casual Brahmas with women, not anything that would be considered openly and reciprocal consensual relations. So, yeah. So this conversation is, I think clear evidence that she is doing this just to spite her parents. Then we have,
that's basically the way of saying that Conrad's definitely the Weinstein type.
Yep. And here we get Kevin, Harry and Jan just kind of touching base before we get the follow up, and much like Maeve, she is 100% in control of this kid anytime.
For now, yeah.
Yeah, so this was the roving camera scene, so it was well shot.
See, that's the problem I have, and that's where I was saying is like there should be some concern because I have a feeling it's going to come to a head because she is getting herself into over her head, thinking she can control this guy because we know the kind of guy he is. Harry knows the kind of guy he is. And I know genuinely deep down, Harry's got to be worried about that. But you guys are right. He does trust her. He doesn't trust him.
On the list of reasons,
it's also like Harry's probably assuming it's like going to end up being a 3-day fling because they're. Oh yeah,
I see where you're coming from, and I think that's what he's hoping for. But we all know this is going to go deeper than that.
Yeah, so, I will say that
she's going to keep throwing chemicals on this concoction
or she's going to end up knocked up.
Yeah. No, on the list of reasons why Harry would go full nuclear on the Harrigan family, Eddie hurts his daughter, possibly kills his daughter.
That's what I was thinking. Exactly.
And
yes.
That's where I think, he goes full Punisher, where he's just now going to meticulously take out everybody.
Because there's another aspect to why Harry did what he did, the way he did it. I think that we're not even keying in on, and this is another thing, is that he knows that here's the thing. Harry and him have been at odds since the beginning of the show. And this kid wants to hurt Harry somehow. He knows he probably physically can't do it unless he can catch him off guard and kill him. But what's one way he can hurt him?
Through his family.
There ain't much anybody do about it. Exactly. That's where I see this is ramping up towards. That's why I'm not so sure she's in control of him as much as you think she is. I think he's also playing her just as much. He took him off guard this last part, but that's because I know Harry is still got that in the back of his mind too, possibly. But that kid's going to figure that out if he hasn't already, if he's not already playing. That's what I'm saying. And he's been raised by Maeve, who's done this shit since day one with him. So that's the only thing he knows how to do is connive and lie and scheme. So
I think
No, totally
I can
agree.
see where you're coming on that. I don't know that Eddie's. I don't know that Eddie is that
ahead,
smart.
or if this is going to trigger him.
I think
now.
he's
That's
just
what I'm
getting
saying,
some easy pussy, and he's happy with it.
It could be that for now, but it's going to turn into this position where he realizes, wait a minute here, I do have something here that I can get to Harry with.
Yeah, he's gonna try and like, because right now, as far as he can tell, oh, I got this bitch, she's mine, awesome.
Well,
Later,
that's what he was
he's
trying
gonna
to
be
do in
like-
the last scene, and that's where I agree with you pretty much, is because that was his play, right? That was him playing his card.
Right, but later on down the line, when she tries to not be his bitch anymore, he's gonna be like, oh no, you're still my bitch, and I'm gonna
Like
let Harry
Conrad.
know that you belong to me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
agree.
speaking of Conrad
Yep.
trying to claim territory.
But I think
we've
it's going
got
to be
him-
more to hurt Harry. That was my point.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah,
Yep.
we the next scene is Conrad trying to basically claim ownership over Jan's life. Which is, and man, Pierce Brosnan, as Amelia Clark Scrollarm says, gives some of his best like controlled psychopath vibes when he's talking to Jan. So creepy.
Same thing with all the women, actually.
Yeah.
You can tell
Yeah.
the dichotomy difference, and because he does the same thing to Kevin's wife too. And yeah,
The only one he doesn't do it to is Maeve, because I think he's scared to death of her.
yeah, but that's only going to last so long, probably. But yeah, we've touched on that. But yeah, and it's really tough to kind of to kind of come to terms emotionally with this shit, because we all know she's being stupid, chumming up with this fucking agent, but we don't like the way that he's controlling her, right? Like, that's the thing. It's kind of one of those, he's actually doing the right thing at this point, but it's for the wrong reasons, I guess is the best way to put it. Or I don't know how you want to.
Is he, or does he have suspicions?
Well, I think he does, but
Because
it's
Paul
like,
probably-
I don't see her walking away from that dinner.
Yeah, I would think Paul probably reported back to somebody
oh, absolutely.
about
And
the
it-
dinner.
Well,
So I think he's
Conrad
more
already met her
suspicious
before
than
Paul
trying.
did.
Right.
Yeah.
I think he's more suspicious of her than trying to get in her pants, as the cops are assuming.
That I agree with. That's what I was getting towards, is like, yeah, she clearly, and I get, that was my whole thing, is like, okay, he's kind of in the right in this instance, but I don't agree. And I think we all are saying the same thing, is like how he's being so controlling over her and stuff like that is not a good thing, right? That's where I was kind of trying to get to.
Gotcha.
And I'm going to say that given where we're going to get at the ending of this episode, I feel like she might be a tool for Richie to try to attack the Harrigans, even if she makes it out of the dinner.
Could.
Yeah, because given what what Richie does, and that we'll get to. It's great. Yeah,
Jan's
the
gonna lose her
undercover
freaking mind, though. No
the
matter
undercover
what happens to
police
her.
lady is going to suffer.
Yeah,
Is this-
like I said, I don't think she makes it out of that dinner.
Yeah. So the question is going to be, I think this is the part where, how much we know Harry's getting recruited by someone who's far enough up that that Cat scares or at least
Could
intimidates
end the
Conrad.
family.
Yeah. Like that she's got capabilities far beyond where they're at. If Conrad and the Harrigans, Maeve, Eddie, etc., keep fucking with Jan and his daughter, at what point are they kind of like tempting fate to get Harry to start fixing them? Is what I'm going to think is what's
Well, that's kind of, and I
well-
could see that being another catalyst where we were kind of talking and debating in the last few weeks about how this was going to turn out, and where I said I feel like there is going to be a faction at some point, and Harry's going to.
We got to keep pushing, because we're coming up on the scene where this is the one scene that blew my mind, but the parking lot scene. We got to get to the parking lot scene and talk about that.
All right, so Conrad invites Jan's new buddy over, and Jan's face when she's like, oh, this actress is great. So, just because she is not a good happy person about that. And then we get Conrad talking with Bella,
with Bella.
which I think is really good pacing before we get this scene where they're knowing now their backstory, what's going on, ahead of what we're going to get with Kevin and
Yeah,
Maeve.
how do you tell your son's wife never forget who you belong to?
Well, and I think
Because
this
she's
is
only his son's wife because he belongs to him.
And I think that the reason that, and I could be wrong, but what I got from this scene is it's kind of setting up the whole idea, or working in tandem with that Eddie is his son. Right.
Yeah.
So I think,
Yeah,
and I think what this is telling us is that he is well aware of that. I think that's what this scene is supposed to be there for.
He said she was his property. Yep.
Yeah.
It was for people who hadn't already put together that Eddie was his kid.
Yeah, because they also set up the other thing with Serafina's mother, because like they made it sound like that was a very ongoing thing with him too until she died, right? And how do we know how she died?
Oh,
Right?
I think we're going to find out
Maeve
Maeve
100%
100%
she
killed her.
fucking
Yeah.
died. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if Maeve went in there and like prison shivved her like 27 times.
Or poisoned her or something else. Yes.
Or had Eddie kill her.
No, I don't think Maeve is a poisoner. I think Maeve is a little more hands-on.
She is, but it depends on how, like, I can't remember. I'm trying to remember if they specifically said how she died. I can't remember if they did. If she got sick or something like that. Because I thought Conrad once said something about before your mother got sick or something like that. But I could be remembering things wrong. So if it was that's why I was saying maybe she set it up to where it looked like an accident. So nobody would, including Conrad, think that she could have possibly have done it. Because that's going to be the big reveal, let's be real. Whether it's at the end of this season or sometime near the end of the show where it finally comes out. Because like I've said since the start of this show, Maeve is even deeper and darker than I even thought she could be before after some of this shit. Especially like I'm starting to think otherwise with Eddie, to where he's just another pawn for her. Because I agree with Brahma that she could care less because she's not his kid. Or her kid.
I agree too.
Kid.
I think she raised him as an attack dog, and he's not that important to her. Like she tells him he is,
Right?
Useful
because
tool.
that's what he needs to hear. But yeah, she's using him as an attack dog.
But that's just it. I'm trying to figure out who it is she's trying to position as the leader. Is it Kevin?
I think it's herself.
Kevin's her only blood.
She's not going to be
now.
around that much longer. See, that's the thing, is she's looking towards the future. She's trying to set something up here to where, because that's the other thing. And this is what kind of gave me the idea is like when she reminded us that he is the last technical Harrigan, whether it was Kevin's son or not. To where this is why I think she's going to make sure he doesn't make it that long. Is there's no way she wants to give over the family to a bastard. That's where I think Brahma and I are on the same page here with Eddie. She is never going to hand over.
She's going to try to get Kevin
wants
back
control
onto her side.
Is it Kevin, though? That's what I'm trying to figure out here. Is it really Kevin, or is there somebody else she has in mind? Or is there another member of the family that we're kind of not thinking about here, know about yet, that she's trying to position into this situation? Because that's what I'm saying. Because like, it doesn't matter about her power. She already knows she has power over Conrad. But I'm thinking she's trying to play this game of making sure that whoever it is that's left is the person that's in charge of the family, but to what end? That's what I'm trying to figure out as well. Because it's almost like she could give a shit less about the Harrigan bloodline as much as she does her bloodline, if that makes sense. That's what I was trying to get to.
Yeah.
Do we think it'll end with this season?
I think it's going to.
Do you think they can chance it? Chance not being able to finish the story by hoping for a second season.
There's no way they could wrap up all the threads. I think this
is
what we thought about 1923 also.
It's gonna be hard, but we'll see. I think they'll set up for a second season.
I think this was more set up for that. Yeah.
Will the Harrigan portion of it be done in the first season though?
That's a good question. See, that's where I'm not so sure, like how this family is sitting by the end of this. I mean, I think that we're far enough along to where, yes, I think they will still be, but I agree with you to ask. That's a good question to ask at some point. What will
Harry
be left
be
of the
the only
Harrigan
one
family? And will
continuing?
Harry,
I think the second season, like the setup for the second season, may kick off with the forming or the introduction of a third faction.
Well, we've already got
and that's
the
kind
third
of what I was
faction.
getting
That's
to.
Cat.
Well,
No.
She's
I
a
think
bigger entity. No, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm with Slender Dad on this, to where I think, yeah, you're 100% right. Like, there's gonna be between,
like maybe Harry gets brought over to Cat's side, and that becomes the third faction.
could be, but then that
It
makes
could
him
go
way
a lot of different
powerful.
ways.
I honestly think that Serafina or Kevin are gonna have some, like, and this is where I think Maeve is gonna keep doing her fucking games, and you're gonna have a split in the family at some point.
Yeah.
And what's going to happen there is then Harry's going to have to make a choice. He's probably going to go with Serafina and Conrad, where Kevin and Maeve are going to go on the other end until Kevin realizes that everything's not the way he thought it was. And then he's either going to get killed or come to his senses, one of the two. But see, Kevin is the kind of character where I just don't see him making it to the end of the show. He's the kind of character he's like you guys said, he's kind of almost too sweet and innocent for the shit that he's doing. But he's still a hard ass at the same time. But he's too
You got to watch that choice of words given his history, Tom.
Yeah. Don't talk about the man's ass. It makes him very sensitive.
I know, and that's what I'm getting at. Is he has this? He's clearly broken. He's broken, right? Like there's. It's gonna
but at the same time, I have pointed this out.
Yeah, with the stuff he says about Seraphine was terrible.
I have pointed this out in almost every crisis that the family has faced. Kevin has also been the only one who was able to keep a level head and make the moves, like make decisions.
But that's only when he has Harry around.
Well, the move is always call Harry, but while everybody else is crying because old boy's getting chainsawed in half, he's making the call like they're about to kill him. You got.
But as I just said, remember when we get to that faction, I have a feeling that because of how deep Maeve is going to have things so fucked up, Kevin's going to go with that faction. And whether Conrad lives or dies and Serafina starts another faction of sorts, Harry's going to go with her. And that's going to leave Kevin completely vulnerable and not knowing what to do. He's going to be a lost puppy.
So do you think Harry was lying to Kinney?
Yeah, I don't think Kevin sticks with the Maeve faction. I don't see that happening.
I don't know. That's what this scene we got up right here on the screen. I think it's setting all that shit up.
She was
because remember we kept asking who was going to kill Eddie. You want to know who's going to kill Eddie? It's going to be Kevin.
Yeah, but Maeve was trying to turn Kevin against Serafina, and Kevin told her to get fucked.
It's still planting seeds though. See, that's the thing. And I agree with you. That's what happened in this. It may not. I'm just kind of throwing in spitballing because at this point I have no clue where this fucking show is going.
Yeah, I don't know what the third faction consists of, but I do not see Kevin aligning himself with Maeve. I think he hates this bitch. I think, they're related by blood, but he does not want anything
He does
to do
until
with
he
her.
takes into consideration the fact that his dad not only fucked his wife, but his son is not even his own son. See, that's the thing is this guy has been tromped on by everybody in his family but his mother, basically, at this point. See, that's the thing. And he's a lost little scared puppy who's very emotional and gonna pop at any moment. Right? Like that's where he's going to try to kill this one dude. He thinks that's gonna make him feel better, but that's not gonna make him feel better.
No,
you know
it's
what I mean?
not. But I don't know. I don't think he's lost and scared as everybody is making him out to be. I think
maybe not.
He's definitely stressed out of his fucking mind and ready to snap, so to speak. But I don't think he goes off like an idiot because of it. I think he's the one who's been keeping it together more than anyone in this family right now. The one who's always right about everything, and it's like, this is a bad call. We shouldn't be doing this.
I don't ever see
but a lot of the
Kevin
times he
teaming up
says
with
that.
Maeve.
But a lot of times he says that shit though is because he has Harry there. So that's my point. Is they have to almost story wise get away.
That's a good twisty, Clay.
It could
I would
be,
love
but
if Harry shot
I think
Eddie.
once they dropped it in there that he knows now that Eddie is not his son, that almost pretty much tells me he's going to kill that kid. And that's what Maeve is wanting to happen. That's what she's setting up. That's what I'm saying. She's trying to make sure that her bloodline is the one that takes over this family. That's why she wants Kevin to take over this family.
Right.
I don't think she's as married
if
to the
anything,
bloodline
Kevin
stuff
gets
as you
taken
think.
out because he's too competent.
Not
Like he has
Conrad's
demonstrated
bloodline,
more
her
competency
bloodline.
than anyone
Her
else.
bloodline, not Conrad's, because she could give a fuck about Serafina. And that's where I think Eddie's
No, I
expendable
think
to
you're
her.
Serafina. She doesn't like because of Serafina's mother and never has. But she
Well, what the
raised
fuck do
Eddie.
you think
Eddie's
Bella
her kid.
is?
Eddie is her kid.
I know what you keep saying that, but she knew from the start that was Bella's child, that was Conrad and Bella's child, right?
Yeah, and she
And the
raised
only reason,
him, so it's her child.
Again, though, but yeah, as a pawn to do what she wants, because she's no way she wants Eddie to take over the fucking family. There's just no way. And I can tell that now because she's setting up those seeds to get him killed. And the only reason Bella's still alive is because she married Kevin. That's what I was getting at earlier about Serafina's mother.
Right.
So the moment you basically get
Which
involved
may
with,
very well have been the reason that Conrad pawned Bella off on Kevin, was to keep Bella from getting
it could
murdered.
very well be. He's already suspected that. I could believe that. And again, I could be wrong about all this. You could be 100% right. I'm just saying, I'm just reading through the tea leaves, what I'm seeing here, what I'm feeling, what I know. Because that's why I was asking, is there any other people in her specific bloodline left besides Kevin? I don't think there is. I think that's the last of her bloodline. So that's what she wants. She does not want anybody but somebody from her family. And that's the whole thing from the start with Conrad, is that she's been in control of him, like you said.
Yeah,
but
she
now
wanted
she's-
his brother, but then his brother got chainsawed, so now she's kind of got to settle for him.
I don't think she ever wanted Brendan.
Brendan was terrible. She thought
I think she already knew
terrible.
Brendan was never going to be the.
She thought Brendan was a waste. I think Eddie is the one she groomed from the beginning to be what she thinks a Harrigan should be, where she got free reign. I don't think Conrad was involved. I think Maeve raised Eddie in her image, and so Eddie is her heir apparent. I
agree with you every part of that except for the fact that she is a bastard, and that's the thing that I don't agree with. And the only person's blood she has in is Conrad's. If that's what I believe, is like she's more set on making sure her bloodline over even Conrad's bloodline is more important.
He's a Harrigan. She's now a Harrigan by marriage. Like they're very Irish Catholic.
But it's not his.
Not
her kid.
She's a Harrigan now.
Though.
You said it yourself there, Chad. Irish Catholic.
But that everyone
blood matters.
She
that kid
raised
is a
that
fucking
child.
It doesn't matter. It's still a bastard. She raised it to groom it,
and she raised him to be an idiot.
Yeah, she raised him and groomed him.
Would you like to say that into the microphone, Brad?
She doesn't think that he's an idiot because he is doing exactly what she wants. Maeve doesn't think these are stupid moves. That's the problem for Maeve.
Apparently,
no. She's doing it on purpose. It's all pre-planned.
Bride just came out here and I'm quoting her. She pointed at the picture of Eddie and said, "I hate that little Peckerwood more than anything." But I can't get her to say it in the microphone. She's being all shy.
I'm just going to point out that it's perfectly normal for people to have feelings for children that aren't their blood relation.
Totally. I'm not disagreeing with you there, but that's not in character with this character.
That doesn't fit the way Maeve has behaved throughout the last 7 episodes.
But he does have Harrigan blood. Harrigan is who she is now. So she has raised him. So for all the world, it would be a Harrigan.
My question is, though, what makes him any different than Serafina, though? Then that's my point.
Yeah,
and that's where I can't come to that conclusion with this,
because she didn't get to raise Serafina. Serafina doesn't look like a good Irishman.
Well, now you're getting into more of the race factor, which that could very well be, but I don't think it's a race thing. I think it's a bloodline thing.
Maeve has made some pretty race-based commentary towards Serafina.
Yeah, but she also has made it very well known that she does not like bastards and how she feels about bastards, and in the Catholic religion, how bastards are viewed.
Or is she just doing that to cover who Eddie is?
We'll see.
No, I think that's her.
We'll see. We're getting hung up on the shit.
Yeah, sorry.
Anyway, so
up on that,
just to clarify for people who like E-Clay, she says it's gonna, one of you or your brother will take over the family, and Kevin says my brother's dead, and she goes, no, your other brother. So Eddie, we have definitively,
and then Kevin says, you fucking bitch.
Yeah, because I think obviously Kevin hates being reminded of that. All right, we get back now to the what is soon going to be some of the dumbest police officers you've ever seen on the planet, talking in their secret lair with Toby
Yeah,
Jones,
blah,
telling,
blah.
yeah.
Get
Now
in bed
this was
with them, and you're
now
good.
this is I think Slender. Is this your favorite scene of the
Dude,
episode?
this was the scene where I was like, is he fucking serious? God, I hope he's fucking serious right now.
That him and Kevin are making a move.
Yeah, he was like, he basically tells this guy, he's like,
I knew it was
Conrad
bullshit
and
because
Maeve are
we've
fucking
seen.
up the whole family, and me and Kevin are gonna overthrow them.
Well, I knew it was bullshit because we have seen 0 scenes of Kevin even remotely saying that, and Kevin is on the edge right now. That's why he's going to try and kill the guy who molested him, right?
Yeah,
It would
but
have to be a completely
if Harry
secret
says
conversation
that-
from us.
Yeah, and if Harry says that, it might be that Harry has decided that Conrad and Maeve need to go, and Kevin needs to be in charge.
He may believe that, but I don't think that's actually true. I think he just said it just to pull this off.
God,
He would kill this dude no
I
matter
hope
what.
not. I hope he's fucking serious.
I know what you're saying, but no, I was thinking because I had that twinge too, but I'm like, wait a minute, no, he's fucking with him. He's gonna kill him. And as soon as he fell off the building and hit his car, it's like, yeah.
Well, I want.
See, I don't know that was the plan. Yeah,
Yeah,
I want to know what
think he was
triggered
always
it,
gonna- he
and
was
I don't
always
think
gonna
it was
kill
the
him.
plan.
You want to know why I know he was always going to kill him? Because he knows too fucking much, and at this point, he's going to become a liability more than he is a help. Because he can't really.
So
help
you
him
just think he
anymore.
wasn't planning on killing him in that fashion?
Not
Because he has to call
necessarily,
Zosha and say, "Yeah, change the plans," and she goes,
Yeah,
"Yeah, we
change the
saw."
plans. But I think he said that as a ploy to get him to talk. But once he knew too much at that point, he had to do something.
Yeah, I don't think he was originally going up there with the intention of killing him, but whatever he found out changed that.
Yes, exactly. That's my point. Yeah, like something had changed now. He's not worth it to keep him around, and the whole thing was just to kind of get him to talk. Like
I think he told him who the leak is. I think he pointed at Maeve.
it may be very and he knows more than that's what I'm saying is he doesn't want anybody else to know what he knew. That's what I was getting at. Is like we're not sure what it is yet, but whatever it is, it made him either a liability or useless at that point, and he knows too much. So yeah. Because he could either bust Harry open somehow with Richie or whatever it is or something, or more so like what you just said, that he knows who somebody
He knows
is.
that Maeve has been calling Richie and giving information. Because he is like Harry to Richie, isn't he? Or maybe not as high up, but
he might have some inkling or
might
clue
be in
or
the room
idea.
during the calls.
I could buy that. That could be a good enough reason.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I really hope he is like, maybe he hasn't decided he's going that route yet, but obviously Harry has realized what is going on with the family, and I think Harry's starting to.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It shows
Starting to
that
look
he's
at his
thinking,
options on what his next move are, and they're not what he'd normally do. It's not, oh well, I just need to clean up the mess. I think Harry's starting to look at, we need to readjust the power dynamic.
Well, and this is also why I was saying earlier is where I don't think that's how it's going to wind up, because in a dream ideal world, that's what Harry would want. He would want him and Kevin to just kind of go out on their own, but that's not going to happen. Him and Kevin are going to get separated at some point. And just from a storytelling standpoint, just knowing that, as a former writer myself, that's just, you set those kind of things up. You make a character the way they are, like Kevin, to where he is nothing without Harry. And once he has no Harry, what's he going to be? And you kind of, and I know you guys are saying he's pissed at his mother right now, but his mother also just told him who his son's father really is.
Saying bye to
I
Amelia
gotta
Clark's
push
squirrel arm.
back
Thanks
on
for
that a
hanging out.
little though, because with every film that what's the director?
Guy Ritchie.
Yeah, with every Guy Ritchie film, like there's always a very strong emphasis on the buddies, the brothers, the guys who are never they usually
but there's
together
always
in
one
these
who's
stories.
lesser. There's always one who's lesser. I'm not saying they're not going to wind up
but that's
back
not
together.
Kevin. That's not Kevin.
But Kevin's a much different character than I think you're thinking he is. See, because, and I could be very wrong, and if I am, I'll totally eat crow.
I think
but
Kevin is the lesser character. He is the Tommy to.
that's what I'm getting
Statham's-
at. Yeah, he is exactly. And
Yeah, but
without Harry,
Tommy never betrays that trust though. Tommy and him.
and I'm not
they
saying
make
that
it
Kevin
out.
will necessarily up front, but that's what I'm saying is his mother's planting these seeds in his head now. So sooner or later, he's going to be on his mother's side. And it's going to come to a point where I think if either Conrad dies or decides to faction off or whatever it is, Harry's going to go with that faction because of whatever happens in the Interium, because he knows that what we just said. And I think you're right that what he found out is that Maeve has been talking to Richie in the background and basically sacrificed her own son in the process of it all while trying to sacrifice Serafina. Because that was her whole plan, was to get Serafina killed. And once that comes to a head, that's going to really start to blow everything up. And then she's going to turn on Maeve. And
well,
then
and that plan hasn't changed. That's why she tried to turn Kevin against Serafina, and Kevin wasn't having none of that shit.
Yeah, but that wasn't working until, guess what? She dropped that bomb. And it may look that way now, but remember,
still wasn't working.
You say that, but
Speaking of not working for
what
somebody,
did he do right after that?
He went and tried to find
Exactly.
Old Boy.
He's a very weak character. That's my point. He doesn't know how to channel his anger. He's not like Harry.
Tom, I don't like the way you're talking about my boy Kevin.
I know you love Kevin.
We've said he's weak since the beginning.
Yeah, but you're really you're going all in on him right now.
He's taking out his anger now, and his pet. He thinks this is gonna fix everything. He ain't gonna fix a goddamn
it's
thing.
the wrong tone.
Anyway,
Stop
it
talking
ended.
about my boy all wrong.
If
the end
anything,
of
this
the-
is gonna open up some other door, because isn't he like he's a former fucking
Police
call it?
officer.
well, he
Constable.
was. Yeah, so like that's gonna probably open up another fucking can of worms on top of
I
it
believe
all.
they're
Yeah.
all even the prison services over there are all part of the same police system.
right. So I see this becoming a problem. That's what I was getting at too.
But our boy that was in the conversation with Harry got what
Kenny.
Good night,
Kenny.
Amelia Clark.
you know,
They killed Kenny.
so
You bastards.
Kenny's done now. Kenny served his purpose, and Harry no longer needed Kenny. So I think Slender likes the fact that when someone messes with Harry or goes
Well, and
or
plus
goes-
Kenny was talking about leaving. So
Yep.
that was another thing, was that would probably implicate Harry and Kevin in that whole thing. So like all of this stuff coming to a head is like, yeah, Kevin.
I feel bad
sorry,
for
Kenny's
that
gotta
guy.
die.
He was
Yeah.
he only had 3 more days to retirement.
well
Where's
No,
Kenny?
he's
He's,
about to-
in the car.
using the horror movie.
Kenny was
logic,
living on
he's-
borrowed time. Let's be
He
real.
slept with Braun, and took
Once
the
he
He's
took
too
selfie.
off
old
from
for this
Richie, he
shit.
wasn't going to last long. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
The same
so-
way that Harry wouldn't if he took off from the Harrigans.
Also, let me just remind you that that guy had a gun on Harry,
Yeah.
and that's how that ended up.
So Kevin's going to the retirement home and looking for his
The former
his-
guard.
I'm trying to say that the guard that Brahma'd him casually.
Not so casually.
No, that was a serious Brahma.
It took
That
his
was-
innocence. It took his
That was
innocence.
That
took
was
his innocence.
organized Brahma-ing.
Well, like we've said before, he got sleepered. And it's Kevin, So unfortunately, that plan didn't quite work out, but he knows where the dude's at. So I think next week we might see that spiral continue. And as Tom said, it's not going to really resolve anything for him. In fact, it's probably just going to make things worse. So then we get our coppers going and meeting at Richie's establishment to follow through with Toby Jones' grand plan, which is to make a deal
Offer him
with
immunity.
to make the
to
deal
turn.
with Richie to help them take down the Harrigans. And Richie, he's a well-reasoned man, and he's listening with open
Oh yeah,
ears.
yeah. When I think well-reasoned, I think what happened in this.
Yeah. So Richie's, he's very open-minded, and then he gets to the most important question of the day.
Who gets to be the daddy?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
And leave it to the strong, independent women to fuck this all up.
Yeah. So now in between that, we get Kat again, looking like the girl from Glee, whatever her name was, with a
Dude,
cane.
I gotta say
Yeah.
though, she is rocking that vest. Like she's making it work. She really is.
I mean, if I went to central casting and I said, I need a woman who projects lesbian businesswoman,
Yeah.
this is what I mean.
And can pull off a vest.
No, the tracksuit
No, the
wearing
track-
one. Yeah. Whatever.
She was
her-
also in 40-Year-Old Virgin, wasn't she?
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. She was the boss.
She's
Somebody
been,
just-
Oh, look.
yeah.
Look who's joined.
Oh man.
Oh, hey,
So
it's Matt.
my feelings on Mobland is that it was good.
Yes, Jane Lynch. That's who it was. Yeah, Jane
Yep.
Lynch.
Oh, she does love.
That's not
Lynch.
Jane Lynch here.
Thank
I
you,
know it's
Matt.
not.
No,
her,
we're
but
saying
it
it, it is the cheap
Stop taking that out.
dollar store
Wow.
version of Jane Lynch.
Did he have more to say? Were you sticking around, Matt? I thought you just wanted to come.
Yeah,
in.
bro.
Oh, okay. Well, then
He's
yeah,
planning
welcome to the
to
show.
do something after, so this is he took his pill and so he's ready to go.
Did when I messaged y'all, hey, I may be late. Did I fall right back to sleep? Maybe.
for
Definitely.
2 hours.
Well, I mean, I got up and I had to eat and stuff.
So Eclay's saying she played the exact same character in Ozark. Maybe it's a
Skipped
crossover.
Ozark.
Yeah. Eric says hello, man. All
Hello,
right, so
Eric.
this is where Harry asks for his second favor from Kat, which is
I don't.
Well, no. Harry asked for
Technically,
a
this
favor
is-
on behalf of the Harrigans.
no, but this is where she
And then
makes
she
She
it
says-
known.
doesn't take it that way.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it for them. I'm doing it for you.
Yeah.
Just so we understand, you realize that this is a favor to you, which means you owe me two favors
Two
now.
favors.
That means that means you have to eat both.
All right.
You got to go in from the front and the
In
back.
the back, yeah. This I didn't. I felt it.
There's
jumped the
who's
shark a
gonna
little
be
bit.
the who owns who, which is no. I love this.
I
part.
love. Yes, I love the dialogue. I love the exchange between the two of them. But dude, there's no way that you can just do that. I'm sorry.
No, unless you've got a guy in your pocket.
You already own the guy that was
Right,
above
the-
them.
yeah,
or
the
with them.
retired guy,
All right, so yeah, this
the guy
is
that
where
no
she.
longer works for the department.
Yeah, so this is her confirming with Harry, but let's do the. This was because she's gonna make the what Harry asked for was to get the Mexicans to come to the Harrigans on their fentanyl deal distribution into the UK, which Richie had controlled. If you go back to the very beginning of the season, Archie was the guy who was working that angle to try to get fentanyl in to the Harrigans before
Yeah.
Conrad, put that 50 cal right to it through his heart. So that could be a big deal for the Harrigans. It seems like Conrad's wanted that as his end game for the next level.
You know who's gonna outplay the Inheritance is whoever actually goes to the Chinese for their fentanyl instead of the Mexicans who get theirs
Mexicans
comes
are
from.
they're getting
from
from
China.
Chinese.
Yeah,
The
you would think
Chinese
that they would go
never
direct.
export fentanyl. They export certain chemicals that,
Oh,
when
Jesus.
combined, make fentanyl.
Oh, here comes John Cena.
You can't see me? What?
No, because
You
he
don't see me.
y'all don't remember when he apologized to
Cena's
China?
Chinese
Han.
apology.
Hun, 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 hun.
Oh.
Hun, hun.
Yeah, so this is the moment Slender was talking about, like, who's gonna be, someone's the boss, and she immediately pipes because the other cop was thinking I should probably think about how
Yeah,
I
what's
should.
gonna not
Probably
get me
tell
shot?
him that he'll be in charge.
Yeah, and she's like immediately, no, we own you.
Yeah.
And
Well, you sure as shit ain't gonna own us.
and that's what happens when she did that.
Yeah.
Richie took out his silenced pistol and promptly just shot up both of
Well,
these
he
Yeah,
cops.
all the
put
cops.
one in the
All
back of
three
the
of them.
dude's head, and then he
I-
shot her 3 times.
And just quick correction. I believe that was a suppressed pistol.
Yep.
Silence suppression. Yeah. Anyway, and then we
What
get
you
to
knew
the
about guns, Chad.
yeah. Well, I'm really excited. Did you see what they slipped into
We'll
that
talk about it on
reconciliation
Sunday.
bill?
Yeah.
That's
Mhm.
right. They're going to take suppressors out of the NFA list. No
Again,
tax, no
This
requirement.
is a subject for the bullpen.
Anyway,
Man, my salt gun is about to be fucking off the chain. I got a bump stock
Oh
coming in.
wow, E-Clay.
Oh boy.
Anyway, so this was, I think, one of the best. Even though this episode may not have been as good as some of the others, even though it's a good episode.
I
The
thought it was
end
good
li-
too. It felt
The
like it
end
just slowed
line
down.
from Toby Jones right here is probably might be the best ending of one of the episodes. I'm including even Ron
That didn't
getting
involve
blown
a
up.
death.
Yeah,
I was gonna say
But,
the best ending was one old girl blew up in the car.
yeah. But when Richie's just casually walks out and grabs the darts and he's like, "Now, who owns who?" And you own us, Richie,
Yeah, it's real cool until
As
someone
you
goes.
always did.
as you
It-
always have.
It's real cool until somebody goes, "Hey, were those two detectives we sent over?"
You think that? I mean, I'm going to be honest. I'm pretty sure that this dude and Richie have killed police officers.
Right,
many
probably when
times.
he was still with the department.
Yeah. So
and those two detectives, they were working out of a fucking warehouse basement.
They still had to, even in The Wire, they had supervisors.
They were
Yeah, well,
probably off the book.
this guy is going to say they're going to blame it on the Harrigans.
They can't be off the books because it was their department that sent this guy to be their advisor.
I'm just saying they were deep cover, man. Deep
Right.
cover.
I
But they
love
were
this
also
show.
about to go make a deal with a crime family.
I love this show. But this feels like a oh boy. Let's see how
Seems
they're-
like
this
this
they're
one
gonna
goes.
make it look
be
like the
hard to
Harrigans
recover
did it.
from.
You know, it's the kind of thing that you think could never happen until you read some of the stuff that Whitey Bulger got away with.
In what decade was that?
The 70s, 80s, and
And
90s
what country?
in the United States. Well, I'm just saying, you think that there's a
I'm not
proud
saying it's
tradition
not something
within
that
the
you can
corrupt
get.
police
I'm
departments.
not saying that you can't. There isn't a way to work this out. I'm just saying it's gonna take what is it like when you make an extraordinary claim, you're gonna have
It's
to
gonna
provide
take some extraordinary evidence.
evidence. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'll give you some extraordinary evidence right up front, Mad. This is the UK.
Yeah, they I
They
mean,
got
the
shot.
majority of their police force aren't even allowed to have a gun. Yes.
Exactly. They don't know what the fuck's going on.
I don't know, man.
I think what's going to happen, and remember, there is an institutional will to try to blame it on the Harrigans because they were investigating the Harrigans. Richie's going to line up that the Harrigan organization
Yeah, of course.
killed these police officers. The institution will not do any grand investigation
And that's why I have
beyond
the
the
problem.
surface level. Why? I know that you worked within the police department, so I would like you to confirm sometimes police departments don't go to beyond surface level. They don't.
Yeah, for some bullshit fucking
for some rando
yeah, for like a
hobo.
DWI, like okay, call your buddy, have him come pick you and your vehicle up, and we're gonna call it a night. Not the double homicide of 2 police officers that work for you. That is the opposite of what will happen. They're not
going to
go
take it the wrong
surface.
way when cops get killed.
Yeah, they're not gonna go surface level. They're
The
gonna
cops
dig the
will-
fuck in.
No, they will immediately get
pause,
the information that it's the
pause.
Harrigan
I
family,
wanna
and they will go
pause.
balls to the wall.
I want to pause.
We've paused. Go ahead.
You keep going back and forth on the same 2 fucking points. I would like to add a third point. Do we
Okay.
know that they ever told their supervisors that this was going on? Or did this little fucking snake tell them, let's just go set it up and we'll tell your supervisors after?
That's what I'm going to say. That this guy told them
it
to do
feels
it off
irrelevant
books.
to
That-
what's gonna
no,
happen with the
That what you
investigation.
do is you do this meeting off books. You don't tell anyone. Because you don't want any
Because what they
paper
were
trail.
doing was illegal anyway.
Yes,
right.
You
don't
but
want
that,
a paper
that is
trail to do it.
irrelevant. They're dead.
which is why their bodies will be nicely moved to
Yeah,
wherever
they'll be
they're
found
going to
out in the
stage it.
Cotswolds somewhere.
They're going to stage it so that it looks like a Harrigan.
It's
Possibly,
gonna be really
you know,
hard to,
by where
to
they-
stage that
I don't think they're going to
because of ballistics and things like time of death and movement. Like we've gotten pretty good with our science to where we're like, oh, this body wasn't here. Oh,
Oh, Matt's been watching too much CSI.
I'm just look. The one thing we know that Guy Ritchie does is he makes sure that his bad gangster guys have ways to get rid of bodies. Is it the pigs eating them? Is it this? Is it burying Archie with an old woman that looked like his ex-wife? They have ways. There's
I'm
gonna
worried.
be a
I
way.
just finished watching Fountain of Youth, a Guy Ritchie directed movie, and I got to be honest, it hurt watching a Guy Ritchie movie like that. I
Yeah,
blame
because that was his
100%
paycheck
on.
movie.
I blame all of it on the writer. He wrote Independence Resurgent.
Independence Day Resurgent.
Yeah, he also wrote Zodiac, but that doesn't matter. He wrote Independence Day Resurgent.
I talk about burying the lead right there. He's like, yeah, he wrote Independence Day. Oh, that's terrible. He also wrote Zodiac. Well, that wasn't so bad.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna say I love Guy Ritchie, but man, that one hurt. So and by the way, he isn't writing and directing the majority of these. I don't think he's done one yet, has he?
No, he's the executive producer. I think he
Right.
directed the first episode.
Maybe. I think you're right. So
I think
I
what
don't.
we said last week was he probably gave some script treatments.
Maybe. So I don't have that. I can't give the show that same level of faith that I would normally.
We got
But it's
2
been-
more episodes. Let's calm down.
But the show's been good.
Yeah,
It
the
has.
show's
There's
been
nothing-
great.
It has.
And I don't think they've done anything to make you think that you should. You have concerns. Let's see how
Yes.
they address them. You'll
It-
know
I've
on
been
on
hurt
Mad
before.
Time. You're going to probably be able to watch it when it comes up live on Paramount Plus at midnight Pacific
What
Standard
did
Time.
you watch? Fountain of
That's
Youth?
what I do.
Oh boy, yeah.
Don't let Fountain of Youth color your
It's
perception of this movie.
but it's not that though. It's the past. I don't know. It feels like 10 years now of shows like, oh, okay, all right, and then they pull the rug like motherfucker.
Oh, like that one that you made me watch.
How dare you? Which
From?
one? Severance?
Severance, yeah.
Fuck off,
that
dude. You're
show.
wrong about Severance.
Wait a second.
You're
Hey, Mad.
wrong.
Mad.
Yeah.
How'd you like The Leftovers?
Fucking loved it.
I
How the hell
told you.
have I slept on that
told you.
show for 20 years or whatever? If anybody out there, and I assume there's a lot of people because there was 3 seasons that haven't seen it, watch The Leftovers. My God, I mean, from fucking T to P, bro, from the head to the nuts. It's great from the start to the end.
T to P?
It
Yeah.
even had the inside gag about Justin Theroux and what he supposedly has going for him when they
Yeah.
used a specific way for him to, as
Yeah.
president, get into the building.
That's only 3 letters apart, though.
I said T
Anyway.
and P. I don't know. I was like, is it T to D? It has something to do with your head and then your balls, but that doesn't make sense. Your feet are lower than your balls. Well, depending on your age. So I just went with what I had.
Okay.
All right, Tom.
What the fuck is man talking about?
The
I don't
Leftovers.
know.
Nobody knows.
I don't know.
All right. so
Anyway.
any predictions on how they're going to clean up this mess with the 2 dead cops?
I think you guys are probably right. It almost has to be one of those things because they kind of set it up that it was kind of like an under the radar kind of thing. So that might be how they get away with it. Otherwise, like I was saying before, that or this just helped the Harrigans out more than anything because,
Right.
yeah, it just took a lot of heat off their ass. But otherwise, yeah, unless it was done completely undercover and they set it up somehow to make it look like the Harrigans did it, which I could very well see that too.
Since he clearly owns Toby Jones' character, as this show is, made very clear when he said, "You own as you always have." I think what Slender, like Toby Jones, probably is off books, no record of it, and they're going to put those bodies where they can blame it on the Harrigans.
Wait, that's how you read what he said? I've read it as if he's just fucking with them. Like he's like, yes, as you've always owned me. He allows him to think that he's the one running shit when really he's the puppet master.
He just shot this guy's 2 colleagues, and this little bitch is there like, you
The 2
own
colleagues
me,
that he
Richie.
brought to him.
Yes,
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm pretty
But
sure.
I see where
Richie
Mad's
does
coming
own
from
him.
too. I see where Mad's coming from though too is that he just got these 2 people out of the way. Now he's going to be that much more important to this investigation.
Yeah, I think that this is how it's always worked. He allows.
Yeah, and,
Yeah, I
and
mean,
this
this is
guy
pretty-
has always operated by like, yeah, they think they're in charge.
Yeah.
I let them think they're in charge, and they do exactly what I want them to, so I'm in no position to complain.
It's like what Descartes talked about with like, if you're on a wagon with your horses or whatever, and you just keep yanking and the horses are going to fight it. But if you guide them they'll go where you want them to go. So it's kind of like life, right? Try not to force shit to happen. You just guide it because it's going to go where it's going to go. You can only just kind of, ease it into.
And
a
this
better
guy
direction.
knows what Richie's gonna do. So, and he wants Richie to do what Richie's gonna do. So he's just letting it happen. He's facilitating the results he's looking for.
I think my prediction is that this guy is 100% owned and operated by Richie. So I'll go a little different. I think the obvious is the way it is.
Is the way it is this time.
Yeah. That this is clearly how Richie helped along it. We're going to find out that this was integral to his rise to power, and he's owned this guy for decades.
Hell, Richie may be the reason that he's back.
Yeah, I think that is probably what's going on. Anyway, all right, so that wraps up this episode 8 of 10 for season 1. I think it's fairly clear that they are not going to be able to wrap up all these storylines in one season. So hopefully it's been good enough that they'll greenlight a season 2, because they're going to have to do a little more to get all this stuff going on.
I know we're all liking it, but what are the numbers that it's doing?
I think it's doing good numbers.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we hear about a season 2 just before the last episode to help boost its ratings. It's doing pretty well.
Tom,
you know what's not doing well? Wheel of Time. Canceled.
It got canceled.
Hey, Tom, have you ever heard
apparently,
of a show
little
called
controversy. They submitted Tom Hardy and Pierce Brosnan for lead actor. That's going to be...
What's that, man?
Oh, I was just going to make a suggestion. I know you like, movies and TV shows or whatever. There's a show called The Leftovers. Phenomenal.
He just heard you talk about it for 10 minutes.
I have not seen it.
Oh, see there? I loved it. I don't know how you feel about Jesus.
Whoa.
I
would not consider Jesus to be The Leftovers. I'll tell you that.
I will also say that you don't necessarily have to come to the Leftovers show with a specific belief on Jesus to enjoy it, because there's a lot more general dramatic things going on. Anyway, but
Eric,
so thanks.
I may be combining that into an omnibus and calling an audible for next week, because I knew when Chad put Final Reckoning, Lilo and Stitch, and Mobland Season 1, Episode 8 into one episode that I was going to get fucked out at any time to talk about video games. And I can't wait till he gets another fucking job so that he can't watch 16 movies a week.
Right? It's really hard on the rest of us.
The estimating up to go from 2 to 16 was a little wild. But.
No,
I'm just saying,
it's
I never get to talk about any of the shit I want to talk about anymore, because you're like, well, I watched this week, and I watched this week, and I watched.
We would have had plenty of time if Brahma hadn't set me off bitching about.
Sure. Try and pin this on Brahma. Brahma would have liked my subject. I was going to talk about Expedition 33.
And that's a great tease you got there. How was Mission Impossible, Chad?
We're not doing this again.
A Machiavelli production. The stream's now behind, but there's no need to be glum. We'll return with more jests, with humor to come. So click that damn subscribe and let the good vibes thrive. For the next grand stream, we'll surely jive. Ascend and I, we've charted the spree with synapses sparking, hilarity you can't believe. You brought your joy, so now you must go. But keep the party in your heart, yo. Keep the giggles, keep the banter, keep the screams delight. Until our next stream, keep the fun in sight. In this virtual voyage where streams do end, remember with Ascend and Art, we'll always fucking ascend. Oops, we forgot about Imp, he's bound to reappear. With chaos in his wake, all we can do is persevere. Are you happy now, Imp?